Thank you, Manthu Ba'ar Gibab, and thank you, Harat M. Habab Jadef Ray Hatap, and welcome everybody to another Wu-Sabat Outformation class, brought to you by All Eyes in Egypt, Midlands and the North, by way of United Sabians Worldwide. So if you want to find out who we are and what we're about, if you just joined us for the first time, in the corner of the screen is our website, UnitedSabiansWorldwide.com. And as I say, this class is being brought to you by All Eyes on Egypt, Midlands and the North. And you can find us on Facebook by the same name, All Eyes on Egypt, MN, /Facebook.com. So we are doing a class today, the proof, part 23, the symbols of the life journey. So going into some further detail today. Proof has been a sort of long running class. Obviously, we're picking up different topics as the author's style. So Nabab Yaanuwn or Dr. Malachi KZ York's style. The books obviously cover a number of different topics within that particular area. So we have just covered a very small amount of that book, but it's led to 23 parts. I keep putting the word final on the end of it, but it seems we keep extending it as we pick up different issues that we need to explain and teach in some detail. Okay, so let me click this and see where we're going. Okay, right. I'm going to assume, just to see some conversations in the chat, that the sound is okay for most, or if not, please shout out in the chat. We won't run the polls in that regard. Now, you should be able to see a screen with a newspaper saying Wu-Sabat Outformation Classes UK. So if you cannot see that screen for some reason, then again, shout in the chat and the facilitators will assist you in that regard. Now, just so that we can start off things properly, I'm going to just give a little bit of introduction. Partak Yud, this is part of the Sabian culture, and let's say very poignant chant that's sort of affirmation that's said by most on a daily basis. Part of our esoteric practice is that people chant 9, 3, and 9 in various ways to. Only just obviously we're teaching this doctrine, which is helping feed one's mind and mental, or say restore that connection. There's also, as part of our own spiritual aerobics, is working on all aspects of our being. You understand the 9 principles of us. So obviously, as we pass through the gateway called death, you understand we have worked on that which will survive once the physical sheds, and our etheric being then comes to the fore. So as they even say in their Bible, isn't it? I think Genesis chapter 2 verse 7, Lord God breathed into man and man became a living soul. We don't become living as soul until you transition. So we must work on those things now, being both an etheric and flesh and blood being, or physical being. So we must work on all aspects of ourselves and maintain that, as I say, in order to help us transition when the doorway of death is upon us. That is not the end, simply a new beginning, or another beginning of a beginning. Okay, so let's go through Partak Yud. It's in the Sabat language in the first instance, and then we'll translate into English for everybody's understanding. So just join us for the first time. Don't get scared or paranoid. We're reintroducing a language that has been spoken on the planet for many thousands of years, and is again helping us to realign ourselves so we're in the image and after likeness of our own ancestors, the Kadem, Mukmatu, or the ancient Egyptians, and we are the children of the Natharu, who they refer to as material, or where you get the English word nature from. Understood? So let's kick off with that. So just bear with me 1 second. I'll play that, and here we go.
Barur, 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 Nabab, Nadar, Muqtar, Naut, Muqdad, Baded, Patah, Naut, Mukhlas, Baded, Yaanuwn.
Partak Yud.
Anuki, Jawef, Ashuk, Hem, Paut, Mukalal, Nashuk Kawun Jawefneya, Anuki Kasam Empa Paut, Wu Pa Paut Kawun Kasam Emneya, Anuki Wahu Anet Pa Paut, Wu Pa Paut Kawun Wahu Anet Nakuk Kadur Najib Amet Kasam Empa Paut, Wu-Sabat Amet Mushkas Nakuk Kadur Kawan Kalal Pafaf Nakuk Arod Jawef Paut, Amet Waset Amet Aratni Kawun Laye Bakoy Jawef Paut, Anuki Abed Leyet Nafashni Paut Kawun Anuki Paut Kadur Nakuk Kadur Paut Amul Nakuk Amul.
So that was Partak Yod, and we'll translate into English for everybody's understanding. So we said, Holy, 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 Master, Overseer, Almighty, no God except Ptah, no Savior except Yaanuwn. The affirmation. I am in the divine love of the all-expanding, and all divine love is inside me. I am a part of the all-expanding, and the all-expanding is a part of me. I am one as the all-expanding, and the all-expanding is one as me. I can succeed as a part of the all-expanding and fail as an individual person. I can be what I wish in the all-expanding as long as my wish is to stay in the all-expanding. I am never by myself. The all-expanding is I am. The all-expanding can, I can. The all-expanding does, I do. And so that is Partak Yod, part of the Musbatu culture, and a very important affirmation, as I say, which in these classes, and certainly in this part of these classes, if you've been paying attention, you'd have got much greater understanding of what it means in the context of what's being said by sort of paying attention, listening to what we've been teaching. Now, if you need to, this is how we use the Zoom platform within this session today. So it's an interactive session, meaning to say, although I am doing a lot of talking, if you don't understand something, you should ask questions so you don't sit there in ignorance, and also helps me to help you to make sure, as I say, that you are taking in, what's being explained and it's making sense. So obviously the opportunity is there to ask questions. Now, if you need to adjust your audio settings for any reason, you've got this option here on the left. We've got the chat facility for feedback, messages, etc. Things that are not questions. You've got a reaction button there as well if you want to convey emotions, etc., etc. So feel free to interact as appropriate on the Zoom platform. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, so those options are not available to you. However, obviously you can still interact in the chat. In your instance, you can place questions in the chat. However, we're not monitoring live at the moment, so if questions are in there, they'll be picked up after the class over the next week or so. We will, I think, from January/February be monitoring that chat. So if people are on Facebook Live, we will be able to take questions doing that in the future. Now, in order to ask questions, there's two ways. So one is to raise your hand, and you'll come through to myself, obviously as a student teacher. So this message will appear on your screen if you haven't dialed in, and it'll ask you to unmute yourself when your name is called. We only use first names on the platform, so just for data security and things of that nature. So call your name, and then obviously you can unmute yourself and come through and ask the question that is on your mind. If you've dialed in, those options are slightly different. So it's going to be *9 to raise your hand, and then *6 to unmute yourself once prompted. And then we ask you in both instances to mute yourself back once you've asked your question or you've finished your interaction, so that not to disturb the rest of the class with any background noise. If you do not want to come through live, then you can use the opportunity then to type your question in by pressing the Q&A button. And in doing so, one of the facilitators today, you've got Manthu Ba'ar Gibab or Sabab or Haratim Habab Jadefre Hatap, who will ask that question on your behalf, and then I'll do my best as your student teacher today to answer your questions. Okay. No poll questions or quizzes today, I should say. But will be some in the future. Okay, so covered this in some great detail on part 1, a little bit of an introduction. So if you are just joining us for the first time, then I would suggest just checking out part 22. So we'll go into this in a bit more detail. So because we have 2 classes a month, this is the second part of that. I'm not going to do as much of an introduction to this, but obviously show the proper respect. So it's important to know who the source of the knowledge is that you're listening and dealing with, what those teachings are coming from today. Excuse me. So Dr. Malachi KZ York is founder of our organization and brought to us this doctrine of science, what we would refer to in this day and time, the science of the Negroid or Nagaru. All the different races has their own science, which aligns them obviously to their ancestors and facilitates their ascension journey within natural nature. And it allows us to unify as a people, and that's referred to as Wu-Sabat. It's gone through many different names, but Wu-Sabat in this day and time is the spiritual science of the Negroid and Nagaru. And that was brought to us by way of Dr. Malachi Z. Kabina York Okran, born in Ghana, Takoradi in West Africa, June 26, 1945. And he was born to a very important sacred feminine in the last, obviously for the last 6,000 years, Mary Abbott Okran York, known as Fatima. So her genealogy linked into the Iwe tribe out of the Akan tribes in Ghana is where that physical lineage comes from. Excuse me. And she's crossed over now, one of our ancestors, or Muslafu, as they say in the Sabatic language, and is the mother of Dr. Malachi KZ York. So it's important, as I say, that we understand the heritage, in a certain heritage of, excuse me, our leaders or teachers. In a sense, it's important to understand that bit and acknowledge that we are a matriarchal culture, understood. So we basically align with the feminine first, because that was what aligns with natural nature, understood. And so obviously there's 2 primary forces, isn't it? Receiving and giving. Primarily, you could look at it from gender perspectives, but when we talk about us here in the physical, where gender matters more, then as I say, we are feminine first in that regard. Not feminine as a race, but feminine insofar as we recognize that we all come from the other or mother, understood, in that regard. So, which is in reverse to how, as I say, you see the patriarchal systems of the monotheistic religions, because the architects of that, i.e. the extraterrestrials known as the Anunnaki, various other names, are responsible for that shift, do you understand? Because they were patriarchal in terms of their cultural mentality. And that's one of the reasons why the books that have obviously been translated, and they start with the Torah, start with God as a he. And so it's not that God should be a she, more so if they're referring to that, it probably should be a it, as in neutral gender. But even neutral gender, as a feminine aspect to that first, do you understand? Because that is the birthing principle in that regard. Now, as I say, we always point out these 2 things at the side here, or 6 things. So similar to lotus flower similar lotus flower past Sashan, and this is a symbol of regeneration, do you understand? Reflecting, as I say, those powers within the other or the sacred feminine. Now, the sacred masculine is Al-Hadi Abdul Rahman Al-Mahdi, and this is where the Sudanese side of the heritage comes from in that regard. And so, and we'll take it back to pre-dynastic ancient Egypt, but Al-Hadi Abdul Rahman Al-Mahdi was part of a very famous family, still famous today, and name carries a lot of weight in that part of the world. And let's say for a man who is world famous but well unknown to many, referred to as Muhammad Ahmad al-Mahdi of the himself was not Sudanese, but rather was Kadem Mukmatu, or ancient Egyptian, of the ancient Egyptians, pre-dynastic, from obviously the Dongolawi tribe, the Fuzzy Wuzzies, etc. So 1845 to 1885, when he seemingly disappeared. A master spiritualist, very effective military general and leader who, as I say, successfully drove foreign invaders out of the lands of Africa, the British and the Turks in particular, in several wars that took place while he was alive. So the British and the Turks were at that time had very powerful technological weaponry. They were very technologically advanced cannons, certain versions of machine guns and things of that nature, fighting against the people who had spears and the will to win. You understand? And so, and natural nature on their side, of course. You understand? Were able to defeat those invaders successfully by using the power of natural nature. You understand? To us, as black people, is referred to as black magic. So black magic is where nature works for you and you happen to be black. Understood? So not to do with any James Bond movies or different things that they show on their television screen. A lot of that stuff is like a do not enter sign for black people to stay away from the very things that could help you to free yourself. Understood? Okay, and this is Dr. Malachi Kayser York at age 25, as he was then known under the degree of Islam as Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi. So he went through various different schools of thought, ready to remove a disease that was upon our mind or blocking our connection to the mental, known as a spell, in various different guises. So in the Bible, it's known as the spell of Leviathan. Excuse me, it's the spell of money. You've got the spell of Kingu, which is a spell of religion in ancient Sumeria. And then you've got in ancient Egypt, it was known as the spell of Imam, understood. And so that is the amnesia. So 3 different aspects of the spell. Causes black people in particular not to acknowledge or recognize leadership in its own skin color. And it's certainly one of the many aspects esoterically that keeps us divided. Do you understand? For all obviously different religions that black people find themselves under, but not knowing actually there's a spell that was cast obviously on our people. Sounds crazy, but it is what it is. You understand? By the wizards of, I suppose, the Wicca religion. Do you understand? The watered down version of the Wicca religion today is Christianity, is Islam, do you understand? And it is Judaism. Do you understand? This is the Wicca at work. Wicca is a much older religion, do you understand? Obviously of the Druids, known as the Men of Oak, the Druids and others, watered down version. This is why when you line up, as we've shown you in these classes many times before, you line up the Christian holidays, you line up the satanic, certain satanic rituals, and the basically the dates line up perfectly. Do you understand? Because the watered down version of those is the Wicca religion. Do you understand? Obviously of the Mukasu or the Caucasian. Do you understand? And this is what Wicca is a religion, but it's also that furniture that you can buy. Nice garden furniture. So you thought that you can buy and relax in. That Wicca obviously is a religious, older religious ideology of the Caucasians, you understand, which, say, in the context of this, can make good appear bad and bad appear good. That's how they give it to you in their Bible. Do you understand? Now, so in a lot of the situations that we find ourselves in, the bad can be actually, it relates back to our culture, and the good that we're seeing relates to them. Do you understand? And what people don't really understand is that good and bad are really subjective terms. They're not absolutes. Understood? And so Janus, we had the 2-headed deity, one with the smiling face, understood, and one with the sort of sad or sort of angry face. Do you understand? It's the two heads, yeah, of their God. So God is the devil to them, and the devil is God. Do you understand? They're one and the same being. Do you understood? So you sort of have within a society, you have good evil, don't you, and evil. So good evil is, I don't know, for example, you can smoke legally, but on the packet it tells you that smoking kills, and then evil is like to be illegal drugs. Do you understand? So both of them negative, but one appears good because it's okay legally, but still destructive to you by way of nature's rules, and then one is obviously acknowledged as being negative according to nature's rules. So you have the two different mindsets on the same head. You know, so that takes it back to the two brothers some may be familiar with of the Sumerian doctrine, obviously Inki and Enlil. Do you understand? The sons of Anu. So in order to break all this different stuff in the spell, one was sent amongst us by way of our ancestors, the Natharu, to incarnate and say to teach. This is why, as I say, we do not have a process where we're digging up the bones of our ancestors, and because we're outformed to be informed. So outformation, i.e. outside of the planet, that connection is being sent down here to inform their seed or their children about what they need to know in this day and time to fulfill their potential and achieve their ascension journey. Do you understand? You can't do that living in the image and after likeness of another race. And religion today, unfortunately, it makes you subservient to other races. Understood? So teachers are sent into the world to correct this unnatural state of circumstances for our race. Understood? And so part of the antidote to cure this spell is to give you a little bit of the poison, i.e. religion, in a certain way, and then obviously try and walk you back to what we really came to teach, which is to walk you back into ancient Egypt, and then obviously to the very origins of ourselves down in South Africa, back into the waters of this planet, and then into space, into the stars, and then even beyond the stars. Understood? So which you've been coming across in that regard. And that sounds to some people like some kind of science fiction type situation, but he ran up ahead and created a lot of these movies and fictional stories. So when the truth would come out about who we are, it would sound like, you understand, on HBO or, you understand, Disney Plus, whatever the case may be. It would sound like a movie because they know the truth about who you are. The problem is you don't know the truth about who you are. But that's been corrected as the signs of the times and the ages shift. We were from the Piscean era into the age of Aquarius, known as Ptah in our culture. And so a new mindset obviously was birthed. Yeah, so in came 9 Ether, with the shift, I suppose, from the moon into the sun cycle from 1970. And a shift took place where the old style or old roots of information, do you understand, that physical information of the monotheistic religions, which had sort of poisoned the purity of what we knew previously, clearly had been tainted, and therefore our history and our story had to be renewed in culmination with the end of that 24,000 year cycle. Do you understand? So we went through a number of different religious schools to walk us back into, as I say, the true university where you would really learn about the universe, but obviously coming out with 360 degrees of physical, 360 degrees of esoteric, understood, making you 720 once again. Okay, so let's kick on then to where we are today, unless there's any questions.
No questions.
Can you hear me today? My voice is a bit croaky.
Yeah, I'm hearing you fine.
Okay, cool. All right. Right. So the last class we were going through different types of ether. Understood? And for those who don't know what ether is, for the purposes of what we were seeking to do is break down, we were seeking to understand a particular verse in the proof. Sorry, avert your eyes if this is making me sick. Right. So we was basically seeking to get our minds around this page here, page 65 of the proof, and so we wanted to understand, well, what is this thing called ether? So in the context we're understanding, and you're getting more understanding, excuse me, of what we're dealing with here. Ether obviously is a mechanism that allows energy to transfer from one location to another, but it's not just a mechanism that allows it. It's so intelligent that it will, if necessary, build the infrastructure necessary to aid that particular transfer. Do you understand? So it's almost, for example, like today, if you've got an electrician, they will obviously have to, I don't know, if you need they've got to try and connect you to some form of power source. Understood? So the skill of an electrician is to understand the larger network, you understand, which is the electrical grid. Understood? And obviously electricity gets generated at a significant power level at the source, doesn't it? And then in order to transport it, understood, around a country, you understand, then you have to have a network basically, and in order to transfer it from one location to another, you have to basically generate sufficient amount of power, because when you transfer it from one location to another, the power levels drop. Understood? Referring to the voltage, so they drop. Understood? But obviously you can't process for your house what's being generated at the power station, so they have to step it down as well. So they need to transfer it, but they also need to step it down in power levels so you can get it to your whatever amperes you need at your plug source. Do you understand? An electrician, obviously, if they're skilled, has to understand this and then create obviously different aspects around your house in order to move this power to power certain things, appliances, and various other sources or whatever, as well as safety and things of that nature, to make you have power in your house so that you can use it for various different applications. Understood? So ether is doing this. Ether is the mechanism that transfers all power. Understood? So but it will build out, for example, it is the electricity that it will carry the energy, but it would also build out the plugs, it will build out the networks, it will build out all of the infrastructure necessary, understood, as well as the powering down at certain points, because some things have too much power and you have to basically bring that power level down so that a certain basically destroy the thing which needs to feed off of that power. Understood? Some things need a small amount of power, other things need a greater amount of power, and so you have to have what they refer to as transformers to do all of that. So within natural nature, ether is doing all of this for different types of applications. Understood? And we have different types of ether for different types of energy transfer. Understood? And in the physical, what you were learning about as we were going through the holy tablets was something referred to as ultra gaseous matter. Ether is responsible for sort of heat, light, sound here on the physical, and we were going through various different levels of why you get changes in or why you need different types of ether at different types of levels. So we're on the physical plane, lowest level of vibration. Above us, or intertwined is the plane of force, the next level up. Then intertwined the spiritual plane, and intertwined with that is the mental plane at 4. Do you understand? And so, and it goes obviously up to 9, and within that you have different sub levels, etc., etc. So it gets very complicated. Do you understand? But for our understanding, is that for our ancestors, the Natharu, will not come lower than 4. That's the mental level. So we have to rise up to meet them at the 4th plane. Understood? Now, unfortunately for us, because of this spell that we were touching upon earlier, we are trapped within the 3 dimension, not 3 dimensions in 3-dimensional world, but the 3 points, person, places, and things. We're trapped inside that. Can't think of anything outside of person, places, and things. So somebody has overlaid against our true vision, our true connection, a kind of false way of looking at things, and so this sometimes can be referred to as virtual reality, because we're not really seeing things the way in which they should be seen, because our mind's eye was blocked, or our connection to the mental was blocked. Understood? And so, as I said, we look like the children of the Natharu, but we have the mindset, particularly us here in the Western Hemisphere, have the mindset of a Caucasian. Do you understand? So we're not really living in our true image and after our likeness, and obviously part of that is because we don't know what our true image and likeness was, or what our spiritual science was. We were ignorant of these things because we was under, and still some are, under the spell. Understood? And our behaviors, our non-unifying behaviors, sort of set that out. But the programming of this thing is deep, hitting us, you understand, from when we were children. I was looking at something, I think I've touched on this and showed examples of this on this class, or these classes previously, but I was thinking about the Thundercats the other day in the 80s, and let's say I think we'd already broken down to you previously how they mess with the names, isn't it? So the guy on the other side, who was the evil character of ancient Egypt, you understand, who used to have this mantra, ancient spirits of evil, and all that kind of stuff, as you were, well, for those who are old enough to remember Thundercats from the 80s. And all the kind of Egyptian, he had there's pyramids in the background, obelisks, all these different type of Ben stones, and ancient spirits of evil. And he was calling upon his ancestors, wasn't he? You understand? To get the power. He was this kind of decrepit mummy. He'd called upon the power of his ancestors, then he becomes this all-powerful, muscly individual who can fly and got all these supreme powers. So subliminally, what you don't realize is that the term Mumra, you understand, which is in Sabaic, it's a combination of 2 words. It's Mu, which means one who is of, and relates to people, and then Mumra means beloved. You understand? So in our language, it means beloved. So it's a positive thing being referred to, groups of our society who, joined a particular order, and did well, graduated, so to speak, and so are respected in society. You understand? The beloved ones, because the tests within that particular order, in some cases were quite life-threatening. So if you came through the other side, you were highly respected. Like somebody might think about, I don't know, the Marines or the SAS or something of that nature, where they know it's tough. When you come out the other side, whether people respect what you do or don't, they respect the fact that the test was tough, and so therefore being part of that order is to be respected. So on our side, it's a positive, isn't it? Yeah. And so it programs, not only the name is, because the name is real, but the context is fictional. And so you go through that and see, hold on a minute, this is negativity being played out on the screen to be against it, because we would be, if you're a kid, you're against Mumra because you like Lion-O, Tigra, Chitara, and Panthro. Now within the other side of that is that, which is quite deep as well, is that Lion-O was a lion, the main character, part lionish. Lion humanoid creature, but the lion, because the lion is considered to be the king of the jungle, But the lion's not the king of the jungle, because lions don't live in jungles. They live in plains and savannas. The panther is the king of the jungle. You understand? The panther. In fact, the black panther is the king of the jungle. Understood? And when you look in the cartoon, the cat's lair, which they all lived in, was not in the image of a lion. It's in the image of a panther. Correct? And they had a character there called Panthro, which, let's be honest, you can tell from the voicing of the characters, he was the black character. Understood? Yeah, Panthro. They used to have some nunchuckers and things of that nature. What's deep again about that is that when you look back at the cartoon, look at the colour of the panther was grey. You look at the colour of Panthro was a grey colour. Then you go and look at the colour of Mumra is also grey. So the black characters, obviously Panthro and then Mumra are fighting against each other. You've got black people on both sides. They always pitch them against each other in these settings. You understand? So a number of different things. So basically the true deity power was being reflected in that thing as the panther. You understand? So they know this stuff, which obviously makes the fiction appear more real. You understand? If you understand that science, you're long understanding basically how the Caucasian mindset works and how this game of spell has been played on our people. You understand? So you've got the two pitching against each other. So you're watching this as a kid. You understand? Yeah. And look at the characters. So they've got Lionel with ginger hair. Who's that? Okay. Oh, that's the Irish. You understand? You've got blonde hair. Understood? Okay. Who does that tie into? You understand? So you got. They're tied into different races or sub-races of Caucasians. You understand? That ties into more on the older end, blonde hair, blue eyes. You understand? So older Caucasian races tying back into the Jewish type image. You understand? Which is being delivered. We see played out in the media. So that's why I'm saying that. Of certain parties are ruling at certain times with ginger hair, or you get the blonde hair, blue-eyed image showed. If you look at the major studios and who they put up, yeah, and you probably never noticed their hair color, but this is something again my teacher pointed out many years ago to look, and it tells you who's ruling, who's making money, basically, or out of sort of main media. By way of films, etc. You understand? So those characters, as I say, are obviously European characters, and then you've got Panthro, as I say, who is the black, obviously the black character, pitched against the other character of the same color, who's associated with all this stuff relating to ancient Egypt. Do you understand? So this thing of teaching our people Egypt is a bad place. Where's Egypt? Egypt's in Africa. So if Egypt's a bad place, well, that subliminally is telling you Africans are bad, which is the origin. Stay away from that. Put the do not enter sign against it in your mind. Understood? So you won't explore what the sciences are that sit behind that. You understand? So this is why this spell in that regard is really deep. So I say we were getting into teaching about different types of ether in that regard, and how energy is transferred from one location to another, so we could understand what was taking place in these sets of verses. Any questions?
There are no questions. Hold on, wait a minute, sorry. One's there. Right. This is from Adam, and Adam is asking, trapped in people, places and things, is that the same as the Matrix?
It's not the same as the Matrix. The Matrix in and of itself is it's a reality of what we're in, and obviously we are a being who is looking at the world and generating a three-dimensional image of our environment, but we are generating that inside of our head and basically projecting it outwards, and that's basically being overlaid in our interpretation of the environment that we find ourselves in. So the Matrix, I don't know if when you say that, is it if it's linking it to the movie, understood, could seem like a more of a negative type thing, when in actuality the Matrix to us represents effectively represents our relationship to nature. Do you understand? And encompasses all of natural nature, would be us referring to the matrix. One second, I'm just going to read out a quote. Just one second. Let me go into the laboratory and get this scroll. One second. Right, apologies for the delay. One moment. So we're going to go to Master Secrets. Series 1 is called Birth of Earth and the Matrix. Yep. So I'm just going to define it, just so it's nice and clear for everybody what we're talking about when we mean the Matrix. So in this book, we're going to go to. I'm going to start from verse 19. Yeah. So it says, "This Kawak-Taha, planet Earth, was grown 90 million miles from its Reye sun, and expands and contracts up to 93 million miles." Verse 20. "And its weight 6 sextillion tons." Yeah. So sextillion is 6 and 21 zeros. Yeah. 21. "It is based upon Ama'at cycles of years of 4. 22. "That is 4 equal periods of 6,000 years, each 24,000 years. 23. "The supreme mathematics or Mamtat matrix of this planet is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and 24, or 8 digits. 3 times 8 equals 24. 24. "So the matrix of this planet relates to its genome. 25. "Planet 24, or Taha Earth, was a project of the Ka'ah spirit and Ba'a soul Mukwanu beings sent here to Munzal incarnate or grow into sun genes, and had an assignment if they were to return. So you had 26. So you had Athanu Rabu, Kamamu, 24 elders, 12 males and 12 females, Muhanu overseers from Sahat, Orion, and Sabatat. So basically, the matrix relates to, as I say, how the system of nature obviously relates to this particular planet. You understand? This is what we're dealing with when we mean matrix, because the word itself, if you go back to it from its etymological root, it means womb. Understood? So within a womb, understood, is all of the faculties necessary to propagate and produce life. Understood? And so that is the home, or the realm of triple darkness, obviously, to us here as human beings. Understood? Insofar as obviously we are in 3 stages of growth within that system. Understood? Obviously held by and represented by the woman or the female. Do you understand? In that regard. So Let's read one more thing before we leave off of this on here. Right, okay, so just to firm up what we were saying here. So, this is The Matrix, nicely entitled, yeah, as the sub-chapter within this same book. Now, it says here, verse 1, we'll start with it. So, Likum kharadu empa natharu, ai merira nuwapu. For you all, children of the Parnathar, my beloved Nuwapians in this context. 2, Nuwapians, the natural, and Tem tabi al taba'a, unnatural nature of persons, places, and things, is the Mamtat matrix, the true mother on the amount as 9 to the 9th power of 9. 3. The 9 Musbatu, divine beings of Sirius, to the 9th Taldad, birth of 9. We're going to go into this in some detail in this class, so we won't go. I won't explain it now. We'll explain it in a bit. But the birth of the 9 is 1 Atum, 2 Shuar, 3 Tafaf Natat Tefnut, 4 Gebab Geb, 5 Natat Tat Nut, 6 Arashtat would be now Asset, 7 Asar Osiris, 8 Nababtat Hatat Nephthys, and 9 Satak Set. 4. The power of Tasu 9. 5. 3 times 3 equals 9. 6. Nawapu Nawapians. Once you know the true nature of things. 1. Natural nature. 2. Unnatural nature. 3. Matrix. The nature of person, places, and 1 person, 2 places, 3 things, or 1 seen, 2 unseen, 3 imagine. 7. Then you know the rules and purpose of nothing becoming something. 8. Wu-Sabat or Wunawat does just that. Discloses, unlocks, and unseals the matrix of nature by Tasu Achachach, 9 ether, sound right reasoning. Yeah, so, and it continues. So, your point is, so where we're seeing it is that basically what's being expressed there is that our matrix or the matrix is how we should perceive this physical world and the physical environment that we're in right now, how we should perceive it if we had the right knowledge, right information, understood, right wisdom, right understanding. We would see it, at least, because this aspect of it is still illusionary, but we would see it as it's supposed to be seen. But what's happened is that bad information has caused us to see it how in the trick knowledge way, where, as I say, we have been utilized, or the science of religion is basically the interference of the dead into the lives of the living. And basically the dead is those forces that must subsist and feed off the living in order to survive. Do you understand? I'm paraphrasing. So a matrix has been put, a fake or virtual reality has been put in front of how we should see that environment in order to exploit the true source of energy really on this planet. So nobody has any energy other than what we bring to the table as the supreme beings. But as I say, it's the equivalent of somebody plugging, or siphoning off. They've gone into your electrical power, or they've got your Wi-Fi password, etc., without you knowing, and they're siphoning off. Do you understand? Your energy to power their own activities. And this is what religion does. So it creates this fake facade or virtual reality on the minds of individuals, overstood, and so that can appear like the matrix, overstood, that can appear like the reality, when in actuality it's siphoning off energy from the living to you understand, support or empower the dead, understood. And so this is where the matrix to us And say it's nature, it's obviously the genes, obviously, yes, person, place, and things for how it should be seen in the environment. But there's always a fourth point, and the fourth point is mind. So if you drew a triangle, yeah, imagine drawing a triangle, and then you put in the dot, yeah, put a dot in the center, and you joined all the dots, obviously together to that dot in the center. What would you get? You get kind of tetrahedron shape, a pulsing in and out. That fourth point in the center is mind. Yeah, and so we've been cut off from true mind. So therefore, we're not seeing the matrix, at least at this level. We understand it's illusionary. You understand? Because effectively, your supreme being status, or it starts from the point that you enter into the world, isn't it? So that's your beginning, but obviously things have happened before you. But the starting point of your universe starts when you were born, or when you had awareness of who you are, when your mind kicks in. So your matrix starts at a different point to somebody else who may have lived prior to you, understood? But it's still real, you understand, at least to us, as part of, as I say, the way we perceive the environment around us. So that's the matrix to us, but it's been overlaid or interfered with, with others who have a different agenda to the one that it was originally designed for. And so this is what causes like a virus, understood, in the connection, which interferes with, as I say, how we perceive the environment around us. So let's say we look like the children of the Tharu, but think like other races, do you understand? Or primarily the Caucasian, because a fake, you understand, matrix or fake virtual reality has been placed over our eyes, and so we're not seeing things how they should be seen, understood? Hence why, as we explained to you, most people, when they greet each other, they will say good morning, yeah, not realizing it's not morning, morning, but rather mourning. You understand? Good morning, which is basically Hellenistic practices from the Greeks, yeah, who worship Hades, they worship the dead. So it's the dead forces, as I say, of how this game has really been played. And we touched upon this before, obviously opened the class with it a little bit, that the media, the television, cinema, which we consider to be entertainment. I'm not saying don't watch it, but you understand, guard your mind of what you watch, is because it's a humiliation. You understand? It's designed to humiliate, it's designed to embarrass, shame, understood, all these negative emotions. But the thing about it is causing you to generate emotions. You understand? Which forces that you don't see are able to feed off of. You understand? So you think about how many different sub races and races, or even people within those races, are making money off of our pain. Yeah, go and look around, see who's making money off our pain. Yeah, so maybe they have a science that they know which we weren't aware of until this Nabab Hakta came along in the form of Dr. Malachi KZ York and broke. You know what I mean? Basically squeezed the umbilical cord that they were using for us to feed their forces through our ignorance. Understood? Any other questions, or does that answer your question? If not, please ask a follow-up.
One moment.
No questions.
Yeah, but we do have somebody who has a hand up, Sakamtat. So I'm going to ask Sakamtat, Ashtat, if you'd like to put your question across. I'm going to click now to allow you to talk. If you're muted, unmute and ask your question.
Rahubat.
Hey, Rahubat, how you doing?
Not too bad. Yeah, just to get a clear understanding of people, place, and thing, as you were saying, we're trapped in it. So if a person has psychic abilities, is that the person trying to come out, or has the ability to be loose from that entrapment, if you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So, not necessarily. Obviously, the we used to have those higher senses, isn't it? So we had four higher senses: clairvoyance, telepathy, psychometry, and intuition. You understand? So the four higher senses, which if you added to the appearance of the five, gives you nine. You understand? And so they referred to that, or referred to us in that complete state as Nathar Patar 10. So Nathar Patar 10 was a statement that person was fully active. They had all of their physical and their spiritual faculties in order. Now, they talk about most people having seven glands. Understood? Yeah, endocrinal glands.
Hmm.
But Negroids have nine. You understand? And those of a certain order know about the other two. They sit outside of the body. One of those that you've been taught in Wu-Sabat is the Barafri gland. And when the Barafri gland was in the human body, it used to secrete uh, what's referred to as liquid gold or monatomic elements into the bloodstream. Understood? And this helped to facilitate these higher senses. Do you understand? As we talked about ether being a mechanism to allow the transfer of energy from one place to another. So when you talk about psychic abilities, for example, or being able to perceive, let's say, I don't know, into the future or things of that nature, or mind to mind communication, you understand, there's still a connection, but it's being using ether and different types of ether as opposed to wires or whatever the case may be, or how we communicate now, or what we consider to be physical. So when that gland was removed, the nerve endings are still there. So the some of those talents and abilities or capabilities are still there. So people still have those because the nerve endings are still there, not the gland, which would give you the control. Understood, of how to activate those powers. The same way you move your hand, or you understand, you move your leg, you walk. You got conscious control of these abilities. When it dealing with, however, that doesn't alleviate a person from the spell because the spell was cast in what language. Understood. So your thinking or your ability to express yourself is trapped in the words, isn't it? You understand? So when the master puts that test to us to say, well, can you say something that's not either a person, a place, or a thing? Yeah, can you think of something? Yeah, at the 99% of the world is going to struggle. Yeah, to think of anything outside of it because your mind is trapped within the language. Understood? Or the words that you can express yourself utilizing. Does that make sense? So that's some. They're two different. They're two slightly different things. One is inherent capabilities that you have. Yeah, that some people are dormant. In some people are more developed. They may not have the full control of it, so that it may be feel to them more intermittent in a lot of instances. Whereas the other thing is something very specific, where all of us are trapped within, say, a certain mindset or matrix. Whereas to unlock that, or part of the key to unlock that, is the Sabaic language. You understand? If you remember, one of the books that was one of the language books, yeah, it's a sort of a goldish, brownish sort of color book. It's called The Language of Time. You understand? Called The Language of Time. Time, yeah, within existence, you have space, matter, and time. But time is also mind. Do you understand? So, time in existence is how mind expresses itself within existence. Yeah, this is what we've been covering a little bit in the previous parts of this class. So, time is mind. So, in order to unlock or to you to think outside of people, place, and things, you have to be connected back to your mind again. That fourth point. You understand? Within that pseudo triangle that was getting able to draw in their mind. Yeah, you have to be connected back to true mind again, which gives you back access to nine mind. You understand? Where you're not trapped within the English language if you speak English, or whatever language you speak, and the limited understanding of those who created that language. So to unlock that, one would have to now be speaking the Sabatic language, and so or learn it, understood, and then be able to think in that language, which would then start to unlock you. You understand? That's one of the ways in which you're connecting back to true mental again. You understand? Because you've got the mind, the individual portion, the holistic portion is the mental. Understood? Which we all connect to, and that through ignorance we blocked, understood, because our mind's eye, you understand, i.e. our third eye was closed, you understand, in that regard. And obviously classes, questions, and setting the right type of information starts to unlock that, you understand, and calcify, you understand, the certain glands within the body, and so we start vibrating in alignment again, and so the connection that we have, which we're referring to as soul or the ba'a, it starts to become a lot stronger, starts to become a lot purer. It starts to filter out, you understand, all of the stuff that doesn't relate to our ancestry. So we start vibrating on a higher level, and therefore our understanding into an overstanding, into an inner standing of things is a lot different. Yeah, does that answer your question?
It does. One more question. At the beginning of the class, you mentioned, I think it's a Mahdi. Did you say, I'm not too sure, but did you say that he disappeared? No one knows where he went.
Oh, the Mahdi.
The Mahdi.
Yeah, he disappeared. Yeah, disappeared. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't know that information. Yeah, Tower Attack. Thank you.
Yeah, a serious individual, a serious spiritual master. You understand? Slept on by the world, unfortunately. But now, as they do with their movies, there's a movie coming out, isn't there? June, Dune. Yeah, and the main
Dune.
Dune. Yeah, June. Is it June? Yeah, June 2 or June. Yeah. So which is coming out, and the main character, interesting enough, a white guy, you understand, who's developing his spiritual powers, as a savior. They refer to him as the Mahdi in the movie. You understand?
Oh.
So we've got the real one now, however many 100 or so years later. You see, he's got a certain look, and now a different story. You understand? Obviously, extraterrestrials. They're dressed like, you know what I'm saying, Muslims. If you look at the whole film, there's part one there, you can go and watch it. But he's referred to as the Mahdi in that movie.
Yeah, because I've watched the movie. I think it was called Muhammad. Yeah. And they were talking about the Mahdi that was the only movie I saw them reference to the Mahdi. But I can't remember in the movie how they made him die. So when you said that he just vanished, I thought, okay.
Yeah, so after Muhammad in the Islamic degree, they're expecting this Mahdi to come back. So 19 Imams, generationally speaking, after Muhammad was here, the Mahdi is supposed to come, and he came, understood, by way of this individual who was born in 1845, but because his freckles were too close, i.e. he was a black man, the Muslim world, through their racism, they don't acknowledge who he is. So they're still thinking that the Mahdi's coming when he's already came and gone. After the Mahdi, 100 years after the Mahdi, you have what they refer to as El Mujaddid, understand, who is the reformer. It's born 100 years after. When you look at the birth dates of the Mahdi and then the master teacher, he's born exactly 100 years after. And in fact, he set up his community 100 years exactly after the Mahdi set up his community in Sudan, you understand, in a place called Jazir Abba. So there's a connection there. And as we were touching upon last week, we talk about outformation. So outformation, we're receiving outformation from our ancestors, which is informing our informational present being. So so the outformation being applied to us by way of information is transforming you. You understand? Back into who and what you're supposed to be according to your natural design. Do you understand? And so when you look at the term al-Mujaddid, what is the name of the being? The name of the being is the reformer. So he's reforming you by way of outformation given to you in the form of information. He's bringing you back into the form of Ray, or a child of the sun, once again, as is ordered by the forces of natural nature. Do you understand? So it all ties in, even though it will appear in the Matrix, yeah, to have different clothes on, different guises. Do you understand? But it's all tailored for the mindset of our people at a certain point in time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I got it. Thank you.
No problem. Antakaliathor. Oh, Antat. Okay, so let's crack on then. So I think we were back at. I think we were here. Yeah, I think we were going to go back into the history. Because you have done a whole class on this actual fact, so check that out on the YouTube channel or get the book. More importantly, from your local All Eyes in Egypt store. We wanted to revisit this in terms of understanding. It was quite useful because obviously we were talking about different types of ether: universal ether, natural ether, mental ether, helper ether, and these different types. So it was useful in the context for us to revisit, and this gives us a nice, good understanding of what the universe is, tying it as well into who we are. Now, interestingly, in fact, let's let it speak for itself. So we'll start from here. We're not going through the whole thing, but we'll start from 358 because we just went through from the question related to the Matrix. We were touching upon the overseers and what's known as Project 24, 12 etheric entities, female from Sabatat, Sirius star constellation, and 12 etheric entities from the Orion star constellation, Sahat, understood, and how they obviously help to seed life here for the life form that we are today as black people. Do you understand? We started off as hermaphrodites and hermaphrodites, in fact conjoined twins was the original sort of defective form, and then split out into single gender beings. You understand? As part of that project, called Project 24. So, however, let's go back a little bit before that, which is what this is sort of touching into. So let's see. I'll just start from 57, just so you understand the context of what's sitting on the top. So it says, and Negroid Mukwanu beings of this universe, 357, the original persons on this Makab Mata'a, planet Earth, became flesh, and blood. Flesh and blood Mukwanu beings called Natharu overseers and Nathar Tatu overseers. So Natharu overseers would be male and Nathar Tatu would be overseers female, who originated by way of Orion and Mazbat Sabat Nadam, Sirius star system, to grow this Shamash sun, Yarach moon, and Mata'ah earth thought into beings from themselves. So what we're seeing here, and which we're going to be touching into, is we sought to make it clear that there's a clear distinction between where we are now physically, you understand, and we explained to you previously about the percentage symbol, do you understand, and how that percentage symbol is really showing you a split between the physical, understood, with the 99 elements, and then the spiritual, the etheric, understood, where those elements now can be broken down into smaller particles, and one we refer to as, on this side of hydrogen, the physical, as something, SUM dot thing, versus nothing, which is NO dot thing, which is number thing. So with nothing doesn't mean non-existence. It's just talking about energies that happen to be more lighter and more finite, but they don't have what is referred to as an atomic weight. So you get this separation. So you've got this energy existence well before things manifested into the physical. And existence is made up of this blackness, dark energy, dark matter. 90% of all existence is that. 10% of it is what is made up of what we refer to as the physical world. So the vastness of what you see out there as outer space, that's existence. But you've been taught to focus on the light by way of the misinformation, not the darkness. You understand? And in fact, we're designed to see better in darkness than we are in light. So this is what you're reading about you understand? Pre-creation, or as they would refer to it as pre-time even. Yeah, this is what we're exploring in these particular verses. So, and another point to make. When we think about overseers and the Natharu, yeah, they are depicted, understood, as sons. So one of the things that was removed as part of that spell that we were talking about, that's one of those, the spell of Kingu, i.e. the spell of religion, is that because of that virus, for lack of a better word, yeah, we started to look for deity or the supreme, understand, or pa'ut, whatever, outside of ourselves. Yeah, so you're directing your energy towards something. So in that context, people are starting to worship, i.e. they're taking their prayer, let's say, and directing it to some forth or source or imaginary source outside of themselves, and then seeing themselves as subservient to some force or higher being, understood, where they don't have the power, this being has the power, understood, and basically you're in a state of sin or wrongdoing, trying to make yourself good. But the important thing is that we basically removed the vivid image of what deity was to us, understood, because as we've explained in this class, and as it must give a great example, if you think about who your brother is, if you have a brother,
Nabab, track me ahead, so I do apologise for interrupting, but it appears, I don't know whether you're pressing your mute button, but your audio is cutting out. It doesn't sound like an internet issue, it sounds like your mic's being muted, so if you just be aware of that.
Let me just check, because I'm certainly not muting my mic. 1 second. Check one. Is that better? I don't know if that is. Is that better? Or same? Right, Mab, you there? Is that better or the same? Okay, not sure what's happened. There, it seems to have disappeared. Where was I now? So let's see where I was. I'm trying to think where I was now. Right. Okay. So yeah. So the image that we had was quite clear. So you think about your brother, your sister, your mum, your dad, for example. You've got a very clear image of who those individuals are if you know them. Do you understand? You've got a clear image in your head. But when somebody starts to say God, when somebody starts to say Allah, when somebody says Yahweh, when they start saying the Most High, all of a sudden now, where's the image? Understood? So part of that spell, they removed us from the reality of who we are. What we've shown you in these, or the proof has shown you at least, or actual fact of proof, is this continual banging into your heads about this correlation. Yeah, and even when the brother asked a question into Matrix, said about 3 times 3 is 9, because what you're getting is replication in different environments. Understood? So the same thing, but obviously at a higher level, same thing at a higher level. The same system is replicating itself. In this case, downwards, we're going to say, because it's projecting downwards. Understood? And as it's projecting downwards, it's picking up different layers according to the plane of existence that we're on. So there's a correlation. It's a complete correlation from us to the very origin of things, the very source of things, and it carries itself through to us into even these lower vibrational states. That connection is still there unless it's cut off. Understood? So the fact of that it was removed, or you didn't have a clear perception of what these terms mean, is because others, as I say, really, they're taken those terminologies and images and remove the image. Understood? Yes, this is part of what they're talking about in the Bible, Revelation chapter 12. They remove the image, and made God, or these beings within this monotheistic religion, made them spirit beings. Understand? So they had no image. Understood? Then what they did is that they once they removed the image, they then gave you the image back as them in movies. Yeah, so Jesus Christ Superstar, do you understand? Muhammad movies showing them, you understand, as non-black. So they've removed the image, then give you the image of God as a white person, effectively, or the Mukasu. Yeah, so this is what they've done. Removed the image, then replaced it with the image of the beast, is what they're referring to it as mankind. So they've given, in a sense, and now you're subservient to other races in that regard. As I say, you're diverting your emotional energy, so it makes you powerless, because in this context, with that cutting off, you're now not calling upon your power source, i.e. your ancestors, for assistance. Yeah, so you're now engaging in idol worship, because not IDOL, but idol, IDLE, idol worship. So you're putting your energy out there, but it's not directed to the right source, you understand? So i.e. you must plug in effectively, and once you've plugged in, you then put the request in. But if you just throw it out there into nothingness, it's not directed anywhere, well where are you going to get response from? Do you understand? You've got hope somebody picks it up. Excuse me. You wouldn't randomly, it doesn't matter how much faith and belief you've got. If you don't know the right number to dial on your phone, you're not going to reach the family member who you're trying to get. Yeah, the odds of you trying to put in the right combination of numbers in to reach somebody who you don't know their telephone number is virtually impossible. You understand? So the reality is that you're doing this every time now with this, with the wrong knowledge information, because the connection to who you were connected to was removed. The how was removed, but more importantly, the image was removed. You understand? And so what this is explaining to us is that the image of the Natharu to us, and it's in front of our faces, in fact, we just ignore it for ignorance, is the sun. So the Para Natharu, or the overseers, are sons. That's how they were depicted. This is why when you look at your ancestors on the walls of ancient Egypt, what have they got above their head? Suns. Yeah, so the Mukasu, through bad information, has given the impression that the sun, the moon, the planet, you understand, these types of things, water, a forest, a tree, almost inanimate objects, almost in a sense. They don't have intelligence. They don't think and feel, and so on and so forth. But suns are intelligent beings. And to us, they're our ancestors. We just happen to be the terrestrial representation of the sun. And this is what the nine mind, or nine science, or the science of Wu-Sabat had to reinform the descendants once again of this connection. Understood? There's sometimes, sometimes you think about it, you see what our people have been through over these many generations, and you think about sometimes how simple some of this stuff all is. It would almost bring you to tears to your eyes to see that every day you walked out your house and the sun's rays were actually hitting you, if you were lucky enough to feel that upon your skin. That was God right there. And so it wasn't as far away from us as we thought. You must have thought to yourself, damn, we've had some people, and a lot of our people have had a hard life, or hard situations. And I'm thinking, well, where's the help? Yeah, where's the help? Where's our help? Where's our version of this? Some people not even growing up in scenarios where they didn't even want to be in their skin suit. They wanted to be in another person's skin suit because, as I say, they were the cool ones. They were the ones who had the power. They were the ones who had the money. They were the ones who were beautiful, so on and so forth. As I say, they made dandruff, which is leprosy, look cool on TV. Why haven't I got dandruff? You understand? The Timotei ad and Head and Shoulders ad, they made dandruff look cool, a disease look cool. So you think, well, why haven't I got that? You understand? Not realizing, well, you haven't got it because you haven't got leprosy. You understand? So, a watered down version of it at least. So, in that regard, so they made it. They made that the negative, the inferior genes, the defects within genes, they made it look cool by way of the television. All of this time, you didn't have a clear image of what deity was, but you did have an image of what deity was. It just happened to be them. You understand? Put through movies, as I say, through their artistry. You understand, which they've used. So subliminally, if somebody paints something and they show it a certain way, then they're saying what it is, but also saying what they believe is not. So this is why made the statement, art masquerading as fact is very detrimental, or proven itself to be very detrimental to human beings. So Michelangelo drawing God's hand, touching Adam's hand in a certain race, or the Last Supper and these types of things, well, they're not factual pictures. That's somebody's interpretation, but it's beamed around the world, or they've got a drawing of who Jesus is. You understand? And that's masquerading as fact. Yeah, touching upon the earlier subject, that's the virtual reality of the situation. Do you understand? Because it's in somebody's mind that happened to be shared around the world. That's their interpretation of what things are. It's not factual. It's art. Yeah, nobody sort of took the time to make sure that you knew that was the case. That this is art. That's that person's interpretation. And they left it there to subliminally infect the subconscious mind and dampen down who you perceived yourself to be. So the reality is that you are a terrestrial version of the sun. Understood? And so you are representing, or that same correlation being beamed down, so to speak, or projected down into this environment. You understand? Hence, they're called ancestors. The word "an," as you know, ties into the word Anu, meaning the Most High in the Sumerian doctrine. But we take that into ancient Egypt. Anu is a city of the sun. It ties into the sun. So really, what you're saying when you're saying ancestors, you're saying suncestors. Yeah, and obviously because we descended down from that gaseous state, from gas now into, think about water, for example, steam. You understand? And then once you lower the vibration, it turns into water. You lower the vibration again, it turns into ice. So we are their descendants. We descended down into flesh to become flesh and blood beings in this environment. So that 9 ether potency of gas, as it slowed down, isn't it, to become, this is what now the ether of that chose to express itself in this form. So they built that form going forward to allow the mind, or their mind, to express itself in this form and format. Yeah, which we're going to touch upon a little bit later. So this is important, as I say, in seeing what is going on and understanding, as I say, that our story, as opposed to the one that, as I say, was forced upon us in many instances, and perpetuates the mind with faith and belief throughout the modern world today. So 358, that is by 9 reason plus the 9 rules, Dawarat cycles of absolute fatir al-fatar, natural nature, or a whirling birthed the world, world to world. So again, you see with the language, they're one and the same word. So when we're saying world, yeah, we're really saying whirl, yeah, because of how, obviously, energy moves in straight lines, and matter moves in circles, yeah, or orbits. So how, even when we think about the world or world, when a man and woman come together, obviously the man is depositing his seed into the woman's lotus of life, understood, that lotus of life, remember, is a vortex, isn't it? So it's the chaotic waters. Do you understand? If the act is done right, you understand, the woman is sufficiently satisfied, and you understand, that black hole will suck, understood, or pull through, yes, you understand, the seed or the matter that's been deposited within the canal or Ka'a Nile. You understand? So this is what's taking place there. You understand? And so this is what a man has to sort of manage for pleasure purposes, I suppose, manage him stopping his explosion, understood. But as I say, as the rhythm's there, certain things are there. His explosion, in the sense, is into the canal, and I say, if sufficiently satisfied, that was going to pull that black hole is going to suck up that material and matter, and then obviously if it then fertilizes the egg, and then it's going to build a world or a world, i.e. another human being or another universe, using previous material from other human beings, i.e. dead skin cells, you understand, which inherits through the nose. So if you imagine like a situation where you what's the word, candy floss, yes, you stick a stick in the candy floss, it's got nothing on it, you understand, you push it in, the twirling motion, isn't it, builds mass obviously around what was previously a small wooden stick, understood, and then obviously when they hand it to you to chomp down and devour, it's got more body around it, understood. So this is the type of thing, that's why, so that whirling motion in the physical, so in actual facts, emotional energy, is telling you that all these particles on they spin on their own axis, irrespective of their size. So if you think about the layer of what we call in the physical environment, everything spins, you understand, and it's certainly how new universes, suns, etc., are created through this motion. So whirl and world is the same word. 359. And originally they prepared their Haradu children to live any place here on the planet, or inside it or under its waters. 360. And they were of the one made Tasu 9 minds, Tasu 9 people, Tasu 9 dwellers, one dweller on land, another dwells in the Patat sky, another dwells beneath the waters, another dwells in caves, another dwells in hills, another dwells in deserts, another dwells in ice, another dwells in trees, another dwells in forest. 361. These were the 9 dwelling places of the Tasu Akal 9 mind conceptions. So we were going through this again. It feels like we're repeating, but good to go over. So that, remember how say that the mind in from that, for lack of a better word, original state, the world of things. Remember the rules of things, which applies. Being, becoming, became. Are the rules of things. So we're going through this journey, you understand, and then existence was necessary to be formed to allow the growth of things, so space, matter, and time. And then in that journey, for mind to express itself going forward, mind becomes time, understood. And so we then have to it has to build out these spaces or places for it to, you understand, express itself going forward. So the environment must be set up, and then obviously it allows them for the mind to be placed in there to express itself in those environments. So you're retaining the connection from us as the original source. It's all the same. It's all the same connected journey, in the same, for the rules of things, say from stillness, from motion out of stillness, being, becoming, became, understood. And so interesting enough, which we'll read on, but when you look at the Sabaic word for universe, we see Makwan, understood. Makwan for universe. So the MA denotes place, but when you look at the word for being, Yeah, so if they refer to us as supreme beings, you say Nawep, Mukwanu. Understood? Mukwan and Makwan is the same word, isn't it? It's just a ma at the start denotes place, mu at the end, one who is of. It denotes a person. Understood? So that connection, this is why the language is important, because we're reading this in English. Trust me, if we see what the master teacher's writing in our own language, you take our understanding into to a completely different level when you see the way the system is set up, because the language in and of itself, as you're aware, yeah, each of the consonants within the words is always of it's a trilateral root. Do you understand? So it's based upon, again, tying into natural nature in existence, space, matter, and time. They're inseparable. You understand? It's the true or real triad. So we can see here, by way of them creating forward this environment necessary for their children to exist, and for them for mind to exist, these individual portions of mind to exist, a place was necessary to be created. Do you understand? So even though we were talking, I suppose, negatively to some degree about the trapping of person, places, and things, it's the fact that we're trapped. It's not the fact that person, place, and things exist, because that's where that free separation is, or the correlation, isn't it? You've got a person, a place, us as a person, and you've got the thing, understood, which appears to be the more abstract. You understand? So the journey from energy into matter is showing that, yeah, that descension downwards, or that projection downwards, with these other more dense layers being added to that particular journey. Just bear with me, let me just turn this sound thing up, jumping in the background. Now, so we can see here, just showing this diagrammatically with this infographic. So we've got these 9 minds, 9 people. So we described to you earlier what ethers were. Somebody may say to you, well, what's the difference between ether and physical ethers? Well, physical ethers are dealing with each of the different races. Physical ethers describes a species within a race. So you're saying, okay, well, this is the black race, for example, but within the black race we have 9 different primary species. You understand? So from blue black to more caramel color of the Sands people, where we all originate from. Excuse me. We have 9 distinct species within. Now, obviously, because of gene mixing with other races and sub races and so on and so forth, our genes are the most intercepted on the planet because they're the strongest genes. Understood? And so, whereas you look at, the Orientals, for example, you see they still look much like each other because they've had less interception of their genes. You understand? Whereas if you used to put a room of black people together, obviously in the same country or even different countries, you would see them looking very different. But you look at the Sands people, for example, who maybe have less interception in their genes, we all look the same, isn't it? If you think about it, ultimately, if our genes were of its optimum purity, as you see depicted in some of the Supreme Mathematics series, so they show you the Riskians, you understand, and different types of beings. Yep, all the males would have the same face. Yeah, even the same physicality. All the women would have the same face. Yeah, and the same physicality. If you think about to the purest of its essence, a pure copy, understood, everybody would look the same. The only way you would be able to distinguish between individuals is how our personality, do you understand? How our mind is expressed through our personality. You understand? In terms of the essence of who we are, how that would separate us. Understood? So can we all look the same? Yeah, it's only environmental factors. If we're all living in the same place as well, then the environmental factors primarily are going to hit us maybe slightly differently, but are they enough to change the way we look if we're all living in the same environment, eating similar food, those types of things. So when foreigners came in, or evolved much later down the line, and then we've got interceptions, then now you see the necessity to have names for things, or You have to have distinctions in place because there's differences now. That creates chaos. This is the whole thing about light. Yeah, because the difference is what creates the chaos. When we were all in the darkness, in the sense, all tranquil and peaceful. So light is chaos. So we need to see there's differences. And then now, well, people don't like each other because some people are short, some people are tall, some people are fat, some people are thin, some people are light, some people are dark. Understood? So somebody has come along and pointed out those differences because, as an original people, it wasn't really a concern for us, isn't it? Family's family. Understood? But somebody's come along and pointed these differences out to take, obviously, they say divide and conquer, don't they? So they exploit the differences in people to take over us because they can't unify. Understood? So now we understand that the black family, so to speak, or the black race encompasses a lot of people. Do you understand? In fact, the majority on this planet, very few are what you would even call white. But mentality-wise, there's a lot of white people on the planet. But physically-wise, there's a lot of black people on the planet, who fit within the category of that. So a lot of misprogramming has been done, and those original 9 minds, or those aspects, now have been split down in various different ways. Understood? And so that pure connection is not there in the way in which it should. So if you think about somebody dying in a state of ignorance, I think we were touching upon this in a previous class, your soul, as I say, it shatters like a piece of glass. Do you understand? Into many different distinct pieces. It's made up of, on a certain level, it's made up of ka'as. Yeah, so they shatters like glass, and each of the pieces will obviously be attracted to the vibrational level, to what the person was thinking, you understand, when they died. So if it was negative, you understand, then it could end up in the lower realms. If some of aspects of them was positive, it end up in the higher realms. The issue is it's split, you understand, and so it has to be corrected, because those elements of that, the original minds that were deposited, and how they've split down into the races and then down into millions of individuals or whatever, understood, they shouldn't be in areas that don't relate to our race. You understand? So in these lower ether levels of 0 up to 6, our people should not be vibrating in those areas. There should be no aspect of ourself that should be there. You understand? Because otherwise it's going to be utilized by other races. Other races vibe on 0 to 6 ether. We're supposed to be on 7, 8, and 9 ether. We'll always be of our own ancestry. So you get this split. So this gargantuan problem, as is described as in feeding the forces, is because a race's natural inclination, as we see from this correlation, is that you should be aligned with your ancestry. So you understand? So there's a connection or a mind set, understood, that we should be aligned to and linked to, understood, by way of race. Because if we're looking at it sometimes from the bottom up, but if we take it from the top down, understood, and you think about excuse me, as the example that we gave earlier, if I take steam, for example, and as water, and I slow it down in vibration, it becomes water, let's say pure water, and then if you slow it down again, it becomes ice. Now if you took something else, I don't know, like a bottle of Coke, for example, and you had Coke as a gas, when you slow Coke down, let's say Coke was a gas before it was a drink, you slow that down in vibration, it's going to become Coke as the drink, and then when you slow it down again, it's going to become Coke ice, understood, as its lowest form of vibration. So what material, or the makeup, the composition of the gas, understood, as it's slowed down in vibration, is going to yield what the particular entity that the mind needs to express itself in is going to look like. Understood? So therefore, when 6 ether slowed down in vibration, understood, and went through those stages, and then sought to express itself in a suitable being, or create that being to allow itself to express itself, that's going to look different to what you understand, what 9 ether would look like. as the same way, ghostational ether or free ether, again, less potency in the gaseous formula. As that slows down in vibration, that's also going to look different. You understand? And so we understand, or you should understand, that the universe goes through various different stages where those gases in there, obviously in youth, is strength. You understand? Even a level of youth and strength is going to kick out a different type of energy than when it's old. Do you understand? Old age, or even in a state of death or rest. You understand? It's different energies that are going to be emitted, and so those gases then get formed into different types of physical kind of entities. So this is where we have, let's say, natural, unnatural. Do you understand? You have strong genes, but you have defects along the way, and different types of things of that nature over time. Excuse me, over time, particularly in this physical atmosphere. So this is expressing to you 9 minds, 9 people correlation, and 9 optimum dwelling places are created for those beings to exist here on the planet Earth. So 361. These were, sorry, any questions? Any questions? Sorry, rambling on.
Yes. We do have a couple. One from Judith. Judith is asking, she's saying, so are the Sans people caramel color at the beginning, or at the beginning of the melanated stage? You want me to repeat that?
No, so that, yeah, that's their color.
That's their color.
Yeah, that's their color. So that kind of that yellow color is one hue, yeah, within the 9 hues or species that makes us up as the black race. Understood? And then you can have somebody complete opposite. You understand? Blue, black, like in Congo, for example. You know what I mean? Completely different color texture, and that's just one of the species that makes up the 9.
That was it, really. There was 2 questions, but one was just correcting grammar. So that was it. Oh, no, there's another one. Sorry. Right. There's another question here, and it's from Selke. And the question is, could you please break down 9 mind? I don't think I fully understand the concept.
Yeah, no problem. So when we say 9, 9 basically means whole or completion. So that's basically saying the complete mind. So when you talk, so there's what we refer to as the mental reservoir. I think we showed a picture of this. If I can find it, might make it a little bit easier. Just bear with me. I think it's on one of these slides there. Just bear with me. There we go. So so we see here, this is a reflection of an individual, understood, and what you can see here is what, in this context, information has been referred to as the mental, understood, linking into, as I say, this outformational context from a multiversal point of view. So in a universe, we would then be connected, of course, so our individual portion, understand, of the mental is referred to as the mind, understand? So if you replace the D with a E, yeah, you see mind. So mine or my individual portion of the mind is from that mental, understood? Yeah, and actually look at the word min there, which is in Arabic they say it's the word from, for from in Arabic, but min is associated with the deity Amun, understood, and is depicted as a upright man with an erect penis facing forward, because it represents the delivery device. Do you understand? A delivery mechanism, effectively. So that allows. So you're seeing here from mental to mind. That's where that connection is through your ka'a. You understand? This is what this is showing here. You understand? So that connection to us, your individual portion. So when we're talking about the whole of it, we're going to say 9 mind. You understand? And also the mind that 9 ether beings should be connected to. So when somebody's talking about mind, or we say mind and connected to the person's ba'at or their soul, the I suppose a way to somewhat to understand it is to say, well, that is a connection, isn't it? You are effectively, it's like your internet. You understand? Your internet is connected to a router. The router is connected to, you understand, a network. So it's our connection. This is why your mind can be, or the soul, I should say, the ba'a, which is still that, it's the projection of the mind down, and when it appears on the 4th plane of existence, we refer to it as soul, but it's describing our connection. This is why it can be restored and it can be cut off. So if, for example, you are not making your own decisions, understood? Yeah, somebody else, or you're being influenced by, I don't know, let's say you was influenced by, not you personally, but generally speaking, were influenced by drugs, yeah, then you'd be living for the next high. You wouldn't be making your own decisions. So therefore, that connection would get cut off because you're not in control. You understand? So that's how easy these connection can be cut off. You understand? So it's like a link. Yeah, your individual portion of the mind is describing your link back to the mental, you understand, and back to the origin of things. So we all are connected, but the difference is we have free or random access into that mental reservoir. Some entities' access is fixed, like animals. It's fixed; they don't have free access into the reservoir, and it's even at certain levels it's blocked. So we have access to the very source and origin. So if you think about it, if certain controls are not in place and you are out of your own mind, you could become a vehicle for lower forces now to pollute the area. So there's certain controls that are put in place to prevent, or firewalls that are put in place to prevent that. So effectively, 9 mind is describing all mind. Yeah, so 9 to us, remember, is completion. Yeah, some say 7 is perfection, and then 6 is imperfection in numerology. So 9 to us is whole. Yeah. Any other questions?
Right, just scanning. That is it for questions.
Okay, let's get back to where we were. Thank you. Without your eyes, it's making me feel sick. I'll get there in the end. Okay, okay. Okay, right. Right, okay, so you're dealing with, as I say, 9 distinct features in that regard. But let's, I think, yeah, the reason I was sort of getting confused is I put something on another page. And that's what we want to really talk about here. Okay, yeah, let's step back slightly. Yeah, because this will help, I think, with some of the questions that have been asked. Okay, so let's start from 347. I think that will help us, and we'll get into some holy tablet stuff. So 347. So we are not just different races; we are different species, not the same, not made to live together. For the albino or Caucasnado Caucasoids of our species is a killer by nature because of his weak genes, as all other albino species of creatures on Earth. So this is one thing that's not well understood and this is not meant to be, it just says it in the next verse. It's not meant to be hate, and saying wrong racism. So wrong racism, remember, is the suppression of another race to further your own race. We're just talking about facts. So when you're dealing with albinos of a certain species, because of the way in which, let's say, misinformation has been handled and perpetrated on this planet, what you're not seeing is, as we were talking about those gases earlier, what you're not seeing is the growth or what they refer to as evolution, but evolution in the way in which we mean it, not Darwin's theory. You understand? Because there's two words connected to each other: evolution and revolution. Revolution on the circle of space, matter, and time will describe how so different races or species within existence, if they're subject to the cycles, yes, will go through a period of where they start off strong and then go through a period of decline, understood, and then saying revolve back around again to becoming strong. You understand? Much like the seasons on a planet, understood? Yeah. So going through different stages of change, yeah, for lack of a better word. Now so what we don't describe as the Caucasian race, for example, we don't describe them as the albinos of the human race. Yeah, which is what they are. You understand? The albinos of the human race. So basically, for those maybe you're not familiar with this concept, if you the circle, if I was to draw it up, but just for time, I'm just going to describe it. So at the top of the circle, remember, is a 9. The middle part of the circle, so if you had a circle, right at the top be 9, in the middle part be 6, and at the bottom of the circle be 3, and then when you come up the other side, it'll be another 6 again. You understand? So within that, from 9 to 6 to 3, back up to 6 to 9 again, that cycle within existence takes 72 million years. You understand? So to go from one through to the other, right back up to the other side. We're talking about certain types of energy. Yeah. So in the context of 9 ether in death becomes 6 ether. 6 ether in death becomes ghost. Yeah. So again, take a piece of coal, for example. Yeah, that goes through that stage of that cycle. Yeah, coal is full of a lot of energy. Do you understand? In its state, and it's very dense, isn't it? It's crumbly. Yes, but it at its densest point, and the point where it has lost all the energy in it, most of the energy in it has basically expired. Yeah, it's been spent. Yeah, what does it become? It becomes a diamond. And so what the diamond has lost its color. Color is a denotion of energy or particles moving at a certain speed within darkness. Understood? So the black tone means it's at its supreme point in energy, isn't it? But over time, it becomes weak. That energy gets spent. It gets used. Understood? And so you get the diamond. Diamond is the hardest or most dense, one of the most densest materials on the planet. Do you understand? So, but it always has low energy. But remember, defects and low energy within this society is what they place the most value on. They don't place the value on, as we was expressing before, they think about the term, the best things in life are free. Yes? Well, they're really the most valuable things to us as human beings. But we're placing value on defective genes and low energy, obviously, materials, understood, and placing them or considering them to be the most value. And they've made defects the face of beauty, isn't it, on the planet, not dominant genes or whatever for all, us as human beings. So what this is expressing is to say that, okay, you look at a panther, the panther has spots. It just happens to have melanin in between the spots. So that's the 9 ether version of that species. Over time and age, yeah, the gases that make up that particular species before it manifested, they get weaker. So now the watered down version, or the 6 ether version of that panther is what? Is the leopard. You understand? That's the albino of that species. Understood? It's the other sheets in that range. Cheetahs, etc., etc. as part of that species. Yeah, so because the melanin now is not covering the whole of the being, it's in spots. Now the next defect of that creature now, so the death of death or the ghostational would be the leopard with the white fur and blue eyes, not a snow leopard. Snow leopard has grey fur. Yeah, the white with the white fur and blue eyes, no more sun heat genes left in the formula, understood, now produces a double defective creature, ghostational creature. You understand? And so these creatures by nature have a different, not say by nature, have a different nature. Understood? Yeah. So predators, or carnivores versus herbivores, they have a different nature in nature. Understood? And so this is what's being expressed here. Now, if people use their mind, conditioning, environmental factors, knowledge, education to override or manage certain aspects of their nature, then that's why they may not be expressing those things outwardly in that regard. But what this is telling you is to say, well, this is who people are. Understood? By nature. So be careful. You're programmed not to do that. You're programmed, as I say, as we talked about earlier, this virtual reality sitting over the matrix. You're programmed not to see things how they're supposed to be. So if you walked into a room, let's say you was a black person, you walk into the room based off of history, yes, should you be fearful? Based off of history, not based off of what you perceive to be the strengths and weaknesses. Based off of history, you understand? You should be the one probably the most nervous in the room. But what happens is that when you walk into the room, they're scared of you. You understand? Or fearful of you. Why? Because of the programming which is done a lot of time through the media and so on and so forth. You understand? Because when one black person does something, the whole race is, and other sub-races, and other races, I should say, and sub-races as well, of colour, you understand? The whole race is accountable for that particular act. But when the Mukasu does something, only the individual is accountable for that act, not the whole species, because you're programmed to not make that connection, you understand, in that way, in that regard. So this is a defect in our mentality, part of that virtual reality shielding over how things are to be seen. So in other situations, we'll say with a certain species, and we'll say, oh, well, that's the albino of that species. But when it comes to human beings, now we don't talk in the same lingo when human beings are also types of animals, do you understand? And also have species within them, understood? And so this is part of the importance of understanding who's who on the planet Earth in terms of breaking the spell. Now 348 says this does not mean hate them, it means avoid contact with them. They will fade out of Wajud and existence with Wakut time. The sun is at work, same as in the Kanamat cinemas of Dracula's vampire race. No one wins the race in racism. So this is pointing out facts, and as we touched upon last week, yeah, what is a white person? Do you understand? Obviously, that is, a person who has who is of the white race with the Rh negative, in a sense, so Rh negative aspect to their blood. Understood? So this is what they mean when they say white race, and is what their deities or gods or groups of extraterrestrials are seeking to wipe out that group of people on the planet. Understood? As say, being responsible, particularly in the last 6,000 years, for a lot of the chaos that has gone on. So in their instance, they're seeking to take out, and their only way to really avoid that is to mix in with others with stronger genes to alter their fate. Understood? Now 350, but say, keep it scientific. It's not due with hate, it's just what facts are, which you need to know. And so they like to shield you. They trick their own people by shielding them from their true history, you understand, or his story, and they fool us, understand, by removing us from any story. They don't even give us the roots or the connection back to who we are, you understand, if you're going to go through them. So this is the reality of how you're living. We've been brain dirtied, they've been brainwashed. Yeah, so the truth of who they are has been washed away from their mind. You've been brain dirtied, so what you've been taught has dirtied and polluted your mind, and so therefore it has to be washed in order to be refilled with the right type of information to restore your connection back again. Now 350, Musbat Sabians, what mainly concerns most Shahasu people on Makab Mata'a, planet Earth, or the Plan ETs are individuals or groups of persons and Salalu races of humanoids, their own past, present, and future, and also well-being for the present and the future. 351. Also, what concerns most Shahasu people is justice, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and what further concerns persons is facts, gathering correct information, not Wu-Sabat, lies, legends, and kasasat, stories, but actual proven facts of their origins and the origins of those around them they trust and mix with. So we can see here on 351 is exactly what we just were talking about there, about the issue and the problem. You understand? Everybody needs to come to the table knowing who they are. If everybody comes to the table knowing who they are and what they are, etc., then we can vibe better. Races can get better along with each other. You understand? The cancer and disease of wrong racism can start to be eliminated. But the moment you start, you understand, trying to deceive and decept because you want to hide your true origin of who you created and why your deities or gods had an issue and don't love you anymore as you would perceive it as. Now you have an issue. Now that you want to perpetrate that against the rest of the world. So this virtual reality of lies and myths and legends now is simply hiding the fact that you're embarrassed about your origins. And as it says in the Black Devil's book, shame is the root of all insanity in the world today. The attribute of shame. Yeah, so it leads to us doing crazy stuff. Yeah, rather than working on a foundation of truth. Yeah, sometimes truth hurts. You understand? But hey, we went through it. We went through all the lies and when it was lies and chaos. Now the truth now being uncovered. You don't want to go through the same thing or the same issue. You want to maintain a superiority complex, which basically it's just pure fallacy. Do you understand? And so everything's working off of insecurity. So problems that we need fixing can't be fixed. Do you understand? So, and if COVID was one thing, well, there's 24 viruses that have been released and are on their way, some probably more deadly that are to come our way. So global events and things that we should be focusing on, we're not, because obviously we're caught up in, or certain forces are caught up in trying to pit people against each other, particularly economists. So, racism is as much about hate, but it's also about economy and saying creating separation between different peoples, so that there's more people to sell different types of products to make more money. You understand? If people are more unified, the economy makes less money because you've got less difference. So you can sell black people black music, black food, black this, black that. You understand? And sell white people completely different sets of subject if you've got separation in these different types of ways. You understand? So people, certain forces, say hidden and driving the agenda to keep people separated for their own nefarious and profitable purposes. So Salalu race of humanoids, their own past, present, future, and also well-being for the present and future. 351, which you read. So let's go to 352. What of this universe and the place and things and Shekhasu and people there is here? 353. Well, Wu-Sabat deals and indeed teaches on the origins of persons, places, and things, and races of Hamanadu, humanoids, and the separation of each species are no exception. 354. When a Wahu Makwan universe first Yatoi comes into being, what is at the origin of a Wahu Makwan universe, in and of the Kalei Makwanat omniverse. It is void of flesh and blood creatures. Therefore, there are no physical individuals, female and male persons, to start any human race of Shahasu people in the Wahu Makwan universe, grown in and of the Kalei Makwanat omniverse. Yeah, so in fact, let me read 351 and I'll talk. 355. So in Hakak al-Hakak, actual fact, at the beginning of this Wahu Makwan universe, at its birth, Mawat death did not exist. Therefore, Mawat death was surely no threat to life anywhere in this universe. So this is an interesting thing. So if you don't have physical beings as flesh and blood, yeah, then there's no birth in that context. So if there's no birth, then there's no death. Understood? So maybe it's touched upon earlier. This is going into what was taking place then before we were flesh and blood beings. In a sense, obviously we were existing in various energy state. So let's go to, and this is probably 101 Wu-Sabat, isn't it, in the Holy Tablets, where the Master Teacher is introducing us in a state, and some of the terminology here is older. This book was it 1990, 1996, I think the original one was, and then various iterations, I think, after that. So this one's probably about 1998, this particular scroll was released, so a long time ago. I remember it was the bridge between religion and reality. Understood? So we were getting it in this kind of religious format, because that's what we were used to, isn't it? Used to the Bible, used to the Quran, these Torah, these types of books. So it was given it to us in this way, and at that time, obviously, we were still working through the Sumerian doctrine, where all roads lead to ancient Egypt. You understand? So bear that in mind with the terminology. So here, we're interested in what was taking place, I say, before. So let's look at what it says. So tablet 1, which have chapter 1, tablet 1, epic of creation and before. Yeah. So it says, "Lo, O my children, allow me to speak with you, for it's that time again, every 25,000 years, for the renewal of your way of life." Yeah. Wu-Sabat in this context. "Let me speak to you of the beginning." So it's as a plural, and this is why we know, let's say, books like the Bible are not the beginning, because it doesn't claim to be that. It says in the beginning. So in this period called the beginning. It doesn't say at the very beginning of things. It says in the beginning. So in this period called the beginning, this happened. You know, according to the authors of the book. So of life. Yeah. So the beginnings of life before and after the knowledge bestowed upon you of your very own creation, and the making of this planet you call Earth, and the many other planets of which you have no knowledge of. 2, your soul, that is the emotional you, is about the energy in motion. Remember, energy in motion is emotion. You is about to embark upon a journey through time and space within existence, through a time not yet encountered by the Behemoth, human beast, and the human beings, the children of the Allahum. So even back then, this was explained to us, that the book was taking you on, you understand, this kind of opening your mind in terms of soul through this journey, because now you're dealing with what? Origin of things. You're dealing with prehistory, you understand? And in certain context, you're dealing with pre-time. Yeah, so to find out origin. This is the science of Wu-Sabat. Wu-Sabat is saying you must know the root. You have to know the source. Yeah, because that's the only way to remove the ultimate illusion of self, even. Yeah, because remember, the spiritual journey is by way of negation, isn't it? And this is why you're taught so much knowledge. You're taught what the thing is not. Yeah, so you're removing the layers of what a thing isn't, so that eventually you're left with what it is. You understand? And so, as we showed you previously, when we were showing you like the image of a peacock, we were showing, I think, the image of like circular lines or whatever in one of the classes or whatever. And as you go down the different layers, yes, from a certain perspective, it's going to look different, isn't it? You understand? So, so this is where you're stepping now into, Your mind is taking a journey past the illusion, past the physical. Do you understand? Of something. Now we're stepping into nothing. Then we're stepping even further back to see about the very origin of things. And then when you get to a certain point as well, where there is no further breakdown of a thing. Yeah, it's small, as we were taught, last week, and reminded you, the smallest thing in existence that can still considered to be matter is brain etheric seeds. You understand? Or nuts. So smallest thing in existence, and even those cannot be seen in our current state with the physical eye. You understand? They couldn't be seen with the physical eye. They can be perceived and detected, but not seen. Yeah, so this is walking us back through this type of journey. You understand? Better say over. You know, but when it was 1998, so certainly over. But it's 10. Yes, over 20 years ago, isn't it? So let's look and see. So your soul, that is the emotional you, is about to embark upon a journey through time and space within existence, through a time not yet encountered by Behemoth, the human beast, and human beings, children of the Allahum. So by them or us, yeah, have not encountered this time period been to be expressed. Excuse me. The human being of Hu, creative force of will, and Mim, also Mami, mean deity of birth, which is another name for Mother Ninti, who gave birth to mortals. So again, without having to explain all the differences around this, it was appropriate at that time, do you understand? But obviously there are Egyptian equivalents to all of these different characters, you understand? But obviously we're walking through the Sumerian school at that time, who gave birth to mortals. The human being of Hu, creative force of will, and Mani, from Latin, spirit of the dead. So human means one thing, do you understand? And then humim, which is relating to us, means something different. Do you understand? As we're talking, remember that 9-6 we were just talking about. So the Dravidian, understand, who is black with straight fur as opposed to hair, that is the human. Understood? As opposed to the original, which is the humim, and humim, female, humin, male. Understood? The star children of star people. Understood? Yeah. 3. Within the confines of this holy tablet, you shall embark upon such knowledge which has never before been made so clear as this for you by any. Let me start by telling you of beings that existed trillions of Earth years ago, before the Precambrian period, before you human beings were created in the physical form. So this is what the same thing we were just reading about, isn't it? In actual facts, the history, where, you know, environments are being created and there's no flesh and blood beings in that context. Apart from the planet Tiamat, now called Earth, from the word Iridu, there existed supreme beings of pure green light, ethereal, and sub-supreme beings of impure amber like fire. 5. You cannot fully comprehend their beginnings because their time zone is much greater than your ability to comprehend at this point. Yet this very tablet, which you are holding in your hand, will open your eyes to their time zones, and that in and beyond space. Yeah, making that clear as well. So we've got space and we got within that. So there's these important to understand various different layers, yeah, of existence, but not on top of each other. Sometimes when you have to draw it on a page, yeah, it's effectively, it feels like, oh, it's one on top of the other. And that's just to show separation, but really they're intertwined. They're intertwined. There's a lot of space in space for things to coexist alongside each other, as they give you that calculation, I think, in emotional energy, in the same where you blow up the nucleus of an atom to the size of the sun, and you sort of multiply it basically by the sort of width for the solar system and times it by 24. So just to get the impression of, well, how much space is there in an atom. So, which I think, depending on what you use, the calculations around between about 12 billion miles wide. You understand? If you was to get the impression of how much space, yeah, if you had the proton in the nucleus, and so you would you blew an atom up to the size of the sun, you see how much space is within space. Yeah, so about 11 billion miles wide is what the atom would be. So the issue is that a lot of space for things to coexist with each other and not interfere with each other. So it's layers, almost like I'm using the word layers. It's within layers, understood. But from a certain perspective, yeah, you're going to see it a certain way. And this is the same thing you have to remember out of the sort of illusion of the way things appear. So even if, for example, we show the Orion star constellation, that is what it looks like from somebody standing on the Earth looking upwards. Of course, if you were to travel there, in some kind of craft ship or whatever, you would never see it. Whereas the closer you got, that pictorial image that it looks like is going to disappear. It's going to be made up of millions of, you understand, different stars and configurations and different types of entities. It only looks the way it looks to us from a certain perspective. It's important that you remind yourself and understand this is what this book is really open up your mind by giving you the different stories from the different cultures to open up or really remove the spell. But it was, the compassion was in there by giving it to you in a form that was what people may be familiar with or comfortable with, insofar as bridging this gap between religion and reality. 6. So these supreme beings called Anunnaki or Natiru, whose way of life was called Nabab or Wu-Sabat, yeah, endowed by El Kalum, an older term, yeah, the all with superior overstanding, 720 degrees in all, 360 degrees of the spiritual or ethereal state, the circle, and 360 degrees of the physical material state, the square. You understand? Which we showed you, if you remember, in a previous class. Yeah, if you look at the capital G, yes, is the capital G is a combination, is it, of the circle and the square. Yeah, the capital G, if you draw it out fully, yeah, the combination of circle and square. Excuse me, both of them 360 degrees, equal but different. 7. Glory be to the one appointed, who they call in tones Anu, the religious tones there, and on earth El Elo, known by many different titles, and the best of which is known to you as Ansars is Allah, in which he is 360 degrees of the physical world and the light of this heaven and earth, in which he is also. So what is the light of the heaven and the earth? The light in the heaven and earth is the sun. Understood? So you're being given it in a way, understood, that you understood. Because you tell people there's no God, or you say, oh, there's no Most High, and all these type of terminologies now that people feel like lost. But, you know, this is trying to open you up to what the reality of certain things are. But people still wanted to hold on to the old, what's it called? As referred to, the old time perceptions. Yeah, old time perceptions. Yeah, old information. Yeah, so you're only comfortable now if it's got a biblical feel or it's got a Quranic feel to it that makes you feel like, oh, well, that's real, or that's true, whatever. You're not ready. That when your ancestors, particularly us as the Kadem Mukamatu, the ancient Egyptians, they know nothing about no Bible, or or Allah, or God. They don't know these terms that we're putting so much weight to. And what I'm saying is they're closer. The Sands people don't know nothing about no Quran. Yeah, they don't know nothing about that. Maybe modern age, the originals don't know nothing about no Quran. Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't know these terminologies. These are modern interpretations of what took place previously. They don't know about no Torah. They don't Adam and Eve. They don't know the Noah. They don't know these terms, which we have binded ourselves emotionally to as a race of people. You understand? Holding so dear as if it's truth. You understand? It has to be broken away to some degree. Obviously, for some people, gently to ease them in, but some people are not ready for the the reality of what the Matrix has really got to offer. You understand? They want to stay in the illusion. Understood? Now, 8. You should know that eventually the time will come when these supreme beings, Anunnaki, would have to descend upon this planet Earth in order to guide the inhabitants back towards their home in and beyond the stars, as we're touching upon that ascension journey. 9, thereby helping them to become once again what? Supreme beings, or not men and women, supreme beings. Nawep Mokwanu, as they say in the Sabat language. Nawep Mokwanu. Yeah? Of the pure green ethereal energy that they once were. But first, one must be sent to prepare a way, and that one is myself. So making the claim, it's up to you to determine whether that claim is real and correct. Well, based on the work rate, so it's not a problem for me, but you've got to do your own research and seek your own confirmation of that. Now, 10. And so it was, for once human beings became rulers over the planet Earth, you gradually forgot that your purpose in life was to gain your way back towards the sustainer. That would be your token home, but instead you became engrossed in your own desires. Yeah, so again, Wu-Sabat 101. This page, Wu-Sabat 101. Yeah, Wu-Sabat for dummies. Yeah, this page here. Not saying that dumb means that you don't know. Doesn't mean that you're stupid or unintelligent. It just means you don't know. So insofar as it's a foundation really of what some of the things that we're learning about here. And so obviously there, it's interesting, token home. When you look at in the etymology of the word token, which is interesting enough, it takes you on a journey to the stars. You understand? I.e. those 13 constellations, which if you count the bit in the center, 12 constellations, you understand, where obviously there's the science of what they refer to. It's not even a science. Pseudoscience of astrology, understood, relates to. But obviously we deal with astronomy, not astrology. You understand? But it takes you back to those star configurations, which really to us is 24, not that star map, not 12. You understand? Because each one of those constellations has a obviously positive and negative side to them. Do you understand? So, but it's telling you forgot your way. Yeah, that your purpose was to make your way back to the source.
I'm sorry to interrupt, sir. Nabab Kakni here, so I do apologise. Your audio is cutting in and out. I missed very much of your last 4 or 5 sentences. Could you just repeat those, please?
Sorry, is it a global problem or a you problem?
I think it is global. It does sound like there's some issue with the actual stream coming from you.
Coming from me, yeah? Okay, no problem. Okay, all right. So can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, all right. So we're just touching upon there, as I say, that when you look at the etymology of the word token, it takes you back into the stars, yeah. So, and the constellations, and part of the illusion, remember, that has been created is that and you read about this in actual fact, Lost Records of Time. So, is the fact that the Sumerians, in particular, for example, they name planets after people. Understood? So, Saturn, Earth, you understand? These planets have names. They're named after people. The same way, like you might name a street, Martin Luther King Boulevard, for example, or you understand, Malcolm X Road. You know what I mean? It's something of that nature. So they're naming places after people, and on their level, they're naming planets after people. So certain stories, in the way in which they're described, so it might be that a comet's hitting a planet, for example, or one planet is orbiting around the sun. But when they're describing it, it's got these very elaborate, expressions. You understand? Well, Murdoch smashed into, you understand, Anu, or do you understand, or Anu was circulated around. It's got very artistic descriptions of events that are effectively cosmology, cosmic events are taking place. But when they're telling the story, it's being described in this symbolic, artistic, fashion relating to real events that are taking place. So But they got that primarily from us. Why did they get it from us, or us as the ancient Egyptians? It's because we are the suns. You understand? So certain constellations are named after certain people because the suns themselves within various different constellations, that's our ancestors. So that is us expressed on that level. Do you understand? As the Natharu or the Natira or the overseers. Us being, as I say, in the physical form as flesh and blood creatures who came along afterwards, overstood, are, their descendants. And so that's why it could be descended down from that gaseous state we touched upon earlier. And the correlation is there. It takes 9 million years, for example, to birth a universe, and so it takes 9 months to birth a baby. And you can see all the correlation between, say, an embryo, and you look at a sort of cluster of or the birth of stars within a nebula. It's the same configuration, this correlation that we keep talking about. So for us, it's reality. But for other cultures that came along afterwards, that correlation does not exist for them. That's not their reality. So they're copying what is real to us and expressing it back again through their own words, through their own culture, overstood, to give the impression that they are the source, of this thing. So they want to create a new fictitious beginning, overstood, based on the real that relates to us. Do you understand? And this is where the confusion kicks in. So the Sumerians obviously knew, being highly scientific, do you understand, taught by the beings they say that came from above, knew, because they had maps of solar systems and things of that nature, they were aware that that planet represented, that was a planet that was talking about at certain times, at another times talking about a person. You understand? So they're aware of the differentials, as the person who creates the symbolism is aware that it's symbolism. Understood? So in our context, we understand what we're talking about. Because you understand the real and what symbolism represents. But when those of certain lower mind are going along and they're reading this of the sub races, the Mukasu, etc., they're looking at thinking, well, the constellation or planet, you understand, which was represented by a person, they don't know it's a planet. They don't know it's a star constellation. So they're thinking the people are real when the people are just representing a particular constellation. Do you think that, Jacob had 12 children? The Israelites had, Jacob had 12 children. You understand? Do you think Jesus had 12 disciples? It's all relating back to star constellation and cosmology. You understand? This is all, so the whole thing, you understand, is basically the part of the illusion, because somebody doesn't know, they didn't do their homework properly. So you're relying on the mindset of translators who basically do not understand, the time that certain tablets and scrolls that they're copying these stories from, what they really mean and represent, but egotistical enough to still write and put things down, and then create all the confusion surrounding that. So the Israelites or whatever didn't realize, well, there's no 12 tribes of Israel. I was talking about star constellations. You understand? Excuse me, or 12 tribes of Ishmael, which is really 13 tribes because they leave out the female, which is to say, in the original star map, the woman is in the center as the hippopotamus deity, Ptah, which is where they get the word Torah from. You understand? The word Torah and Ptah is the same word. They're the hippopotamus deity, showing that human beings are part mammal and part reptilian, you understand, or amphibian, you understand, representing that. That's what the hippopotamus represents, the female. But they've removed the female from the zodiac map. So when you look at a zodiac map or their zodiac, there's nothing in the center. It's because they've removed the woman from the center. And why the baby obviously whirls, remember that word world, or whirl, it makes a 360-degree turn in the womb, and not touching upon all the celestial houses. So we recorded that star map. Why? Because different energies clearly are hitting of different configurations of different suns. Cosmic energy is hitting inside the planet at different points You understand? Within a cycle, and it changes the mood or the vibrational energy on the planet. So obviously we're tracking that, and not only just tracking it for the sake of hitting it, we used to use the energy to power certain equipment. You understand? Power system networks on the planet. That's how advanced, obviously, at that time we were. But obviously, as the planet changes, it shifts, the location of the potency of that energy is going to shift as we move through the ages. So you obviously want to track that to see what's happening. Also, you can see what's coming along as well in terms of different species, maybe different life forms being formed or whatever, as these shifts take place. Because as we talked about in our example earlier of gas, whatever, steam, water, ice, or whatever, different types of energies are going to lead to different configurations of species being born into the environment. So you want to track that to see what's going on in that regard. So here, excuse me. So it's saying that you forgot that your purpose was, to make your way, or to reascend, to become supreme beings once again in and beyond the stars. It became gross in our own desires, isn't it? Yeah. Is it 9 to 5? Or is it us developing ourselves for this ascension journey, or to transform back into supreme beings again? You understand? How much of that does that feature in our daily living or daily lives as a way of life in this society? Or is it an addendum to everything else that we've got going on just for survival? In the same way as our societies in ancient times were set up to facilitate the former, not the latter. So it's designed to facilitate optimizing us spiritually whilst we're here physically. But in order to do that, you have to have your wealth and different things, your economy, you understand, tight in a way that it can facilitate the things that we want to pursue, for the next life. Understood? And so that's getting your society up to a certain level of development or growth. You try and set that up now in this society, what happens? Well, if basically you don't translate the Bible and read it the way they want to read it, they're going to classify you a cult. You understand? And to destroy, because you don't believe in their white Jesus. You don't believe in their Muslim Muhammad. You don't believe in their so-called Jewish Moses. You understand? So you don't believe in the way these fake lies and stories are unproven, understood, and they're God unproven, but things which are tangible to us, which we can prove. You try and live that separate life, they're going to attack you. You understand? Because ultimately, if you die in an undeveloped state, so to speak, then who's it benefiting? It's benefiting their, you know what I mean, spirit ancestors who feed off of the energy of us. Understand? Once we transition at the point of death. And as I've said many, many times in this class before, you do not know the value of the soul. So you don't know what some or beings or even a species is prepared to do to get a little piece of you, and how long it will sustain them for. Later on in this book, I think we read previously, it said when a person dies, the energy of the soul can last in the person up to 1,000 years. that's a lot of energy. You understand that? That's a lot of energy. Yeah. So in that regard, 1,000 years. Yeah, for one human being. So what else can be powered with the energy of one person's soul? So they make it a thing of, in the kind of myth, isn't it, that the devil tricks you to take your soul, and you understand? That's that whole kind of thing, isn't it? That a person sells their soul for the riches of this world. Do you understand? Remember the sort of old cartoonish or animation or sort of movie, the devil will come to the person, offer them, you understand, a new Ferrari, millions of pounds or whatever, and sign a contract, to give the person their soul. Yeah, so there's a lot of mythology around it. Do you understand? But the reality is, as we explained earlier in the class, is that the system is set up to take that energy, utilize it whilst we can, while you're in the physical. Let's see what we can wear them down with, and feed and put a straw symbolically into your being, so they can suck, and feed off of that energy and plug into you, get you to feed them emotionally while you're over expressing emotions. Yeah, certainly in the wrong frequency range. Yeah, mainly stress. Yeah, stress related. So they get you to express emotions of things so they can feed off that energy, and more so if they can get you at the point of death, an innocent soul. Yeah, the Big Mac of spirituality for them, I suppose, and seasoning. Yeah, to have a black person die in an innocent way, innocently. That's you know what I mean. It's nothing sweeter for them than that. So your food, we're becoming food. We're food for their system, etheric and literal. You understand? Food for their system. So that's what really. Excuse me. Yeah, I think they showed you that in that film, The Matrix. Although, as I say, the way they showed the film, and then now if you look at it with your eyes really open, you'll see it's really a story about the birthing journey. Do you understand? Which is our real story, how we got here, from the heavens. Excuse me. Important story, isn't it? How we got here from the heavens, and how we arrived here through the womb of the woman. You understand? The real star of the movie, the real movie of reality. Understood? Now, let's continue. So saying here, that we forgot the original ways, while in pursuit of physical gratification and material gain, humans forgot the purity in which they were formed. 12. As a result, you strayed away from the original ways of the universe and your spiritual path that led you to your true destiny, universal right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding, on to sound right reasoning in this context here, called Nabab. Understand? Wu-Sabat in this day and time. Yeah. Nabab or Nuapu in actuality represents the people. Understood? As opposed to the doctrine. Yeah. So further advancement as this has been explained. Now 13. Nabab informs you that there were 3 creations. Some of you are very, very familiar with this. You understand? As I say, Wu-Sabat 101. It says original or primary creation. Primaris from primus first, before the lightest atom, hydrogen. Energies existed in the form of energy existed in the form of gases. 9 levels of them, from quarks to biaps to zeddies or zeals, referred to as subatomic energy. Before the weight or sum of any weight, registering as nothingness, yet existing, yet being lighter than the first form of existence, hydrogen. So we've been banging on about this, and so hopefully now you, hopefully, you should. Maybe that's the right way to say, but you should understand what's being expressed there, because we've gone on about it so many times. If not, ask questions. So basically, they thought hydrogen first form of existence, 99 elements, but nothingness. There are things in nothingness. The world of things, as opposed to the world of some things, existing, but don't have an atomic weight. Understood? So we've got these, again, interested that number 9 again, these different levels of energies, understand, which hold most of existence, for lack of a better word, exists. Not in the physical or the world of light. But the important thing for you to also capture in understanding this is that this is still matter. It's still matter. So even though we're describing it as energy, it's still made up of material. You understand? So we use the term sometimes energy matter. You understand? Or energy matter. You understand? Or energy material. Because there's things here that exist. As opposed to on this side, where we're referring to it as matter. So you get this distinction of matter versus energy at this sort of pre-hydrogen point. We're getting into energy, and then post-hydrogen it's matter, but it all matters to us. It all matters to us. So even though there's these distinctions exist, don't hold on to them too tightly. Because as I say, it can skewer your understanding. It all matters to us. It's all particles to us. So get that more understanding to help you. Now it says here secondary or evolutionary creation is evolving of existence from density to matter to atoms to cells to organisms to bodies. Excuse me. So we can see here that so when you understand about numerology within Wu-Sabat, so the 9 obviously represents mind. Yes? We were talking about earlier, mental. Whereas the 6 represents sex, which is dealing with the physical. Yeah, so now we start to say it's the inverse, but now you can understand a little bit better. Well, the mind needs somewhere to express itself. Where it's expressing itself is it within the brain, of course, and the physical body. You understand? So it's engineered or built the physical body to express itself. You understand? To allow mind, to express itself within the physical environment. Understood? And so, yeah, evolutionary creation or 6 side is the physical, yeah, in the context of a human being, the body, and then a 9 obviously is relating to the mental. Do you understand? And as we say, in this day and time, what's happening is that the 6 is dominating the 9. Yeah, this is creating and this is causing the imbalance. In this day and time that we're moving into, mind must rule body. So the 9 must rule over the 6. Do you understand? But here we're seeing secondary creation, or the 6 side of the creation is evolutionary. Do you understand? So interesting enough, going in the opposite. So the revolutionary cycle is going in one direction. The evolutionary cycle is going in the other direction. So as we're born, obviously, into the physical, if you're born, what are you destined to do? You're destined to die. So now into the physical, that mind that was not subject to death in that context, yeah, now born into the physical, we're subject to death. So it brings different challenges that we must concern ourselves with. So that's a certain perspective, excuse me, that we're seeing the environment around us. This additional, or let's say, material evolution, so to speak, instead of the creation of the human body, to keep it simple. And then now you see tertiary creation from Tertius third, or ghostational creation, the breath of life, the living soul, and the existing conscious being. So instead of looking at ourselves holistically now in a 9 mind way, yeah, in religion now they're only focusing on the 3, isn't it? Yeah, where, as we remember explained to you before, all these things are intertwined with each other. They're all this, to us, it's all they're different levels, but they're all intertwined. It's all us. But now, tertiary creation, we've gone from the 9 perception, 6 perception, and now, listen, we're at the 3, we're seeing things in 3s. And the society today is controlled, isn't it, by that 3 perception. Do you understand? Which is programmed to you as a kid, 3 Billy Goats Gruff, 3 Little Pigs, 1, 2, 3, ABC. Do you understand? So it's, but in a negative way, as opposed to understanding, you understand that the original triad. But we saw our original triad is still 3 times 3. Understood, not just the 3 on its own in that regard, yeah, at different levels. So now in today, people are seeing themselves in a perspective in ghostational based on 3. Because the Mukasu, or the Caucasian, remember when they came in under the mystery schools of ancient Egypt, they were only given 2 degrees out of the original 9. Do you understand? And then they created their own, yeah, which makes up the 3rd. So that's why the society is basically trapped in that limited level of understanding. Because obviously to instill themselves as the authority, they went and burnt down other sources of knowledge on the planet, so they could modernize. Yeah, the word modern comes from the word mode. So modernize, so rather than this 360 degree, 3 plus 6 equals 9, this 360 degree, now we only got a limited view of, the world because of their hate. You understand? Their hate. Instead of we invited them into work with us, let's train you, let's teach you, and established in the back, killed off, you understand, not only people but our knowledge sources to establish themselves as the authority. You understand? This is why everything goes back to, the sort of Romans and Greeks. and knowing that the Greeks studied under the ancient Egyptians. So why come we ain't gone back further now to get all the definitions of words to what the ancient Africans, how they defined things? It all goes back to some Greek or Roman understanding. The Egyptian or African side or knowledge is simply removed. Yeah, it's been removed until now. So, and the work put in by the incarnated master to restore back, the world doesn't respect it. The world doesn't respect the original, doesn't respect the 9. Yeah, it loves the 6, but it doesn't respect the 9. Yeah, and even more so, obviously, it's taught for people to respect the ghost, yeah, or love the ghost. Yeah, that's why so many people you see blonde in their hair. Now, I'm saying you can make your hair whatever color it looks like, and obviously whatever makes you feel beautiful. The issue is that, you know, if you got to think as a black person, why would you mimic yourself in a diseased state? You understand? And still be considered to be sane. So why would you wouldn't? It's like somebody, for example, who's got beautiful skin, clear skin, yeah, going out of their way, yeah, to put makeup on themselves that imitated, I don't know, having chicken pox or something of that nature, or you understand? You in a deteriorated state. This the impression of blonding one's hair, because what you're doing is you're showing yourself in an albino state. Does this make any sense? So you're there as a dominant individual, naturally what you've been gifted with nature, and now what you do by blonding your hair is you are imitating yourself in an albino state, or at least your crown in an albino state. Does this make any sense? Understood? So this is a kind of, you understand, mindset that they've had us into and call it fashion. Yeah, but it also, if you look at it, it kind of is a submission type move. Yeah, people not realizing it. And what they do is that, as you see with many artists, not even just black artists, but even the Latino ones, etc., they lighten their look over time. If you look at early, I don't know, like the Jennifer Lopez's, for example, or the Sofia, is it Delgado or Delgara? They show them in one look, but over time, subliminally, they lighten their look, they lighten their hair. Their hair would be black, for example, but over time, through whatever programs and movies, they lighten their look. Same thing, Beyonce, you understand, lighten the look over time to the, you understand, the ghostational look, isn't it? The albino of albino look. No more sun heat genes left in the formula. Understood? Yeah, so this is the route and direction they're going down. It's regression for us. It is not elevation or ascension. It's regression. Yeah, so to have us looking like them, low energy beings. Yeah, not the strong, powerful, young ether energy beings that we're supposed to be going in the ascension direction, not in the expiry direction. Understood? Any questions?
Right. We question, but we're going back a little bit, and it's from Judith, and Judith has asked, so we did not have bodies to play a tone. We were manifesting by both light and sound, not bodies. Yeah,
so you're existing. We're existing. Remember, we talked earlier. We're existing as we are. When you say body, because you haven't got to that part yet. But body as energy, not body as flesh and blood. You understand? So what happens is that we're effectively existing, and when you see the depictions sometimes in some of the older books, you see a humanoid, but I suppose devoid of features, etc. But they're existing as an energy being. Understood? What's happening is that you, in the transformation journey that sort of gets created, as we were touching upon earlier, and they allow this facilitation of mind to exist on the physical, we're sort of transformed, aren't we? So we're transformed, let's say, for example, in the physical, into a sperm and ovum. But then what happens is that the coming together of that growth pattern, you're grown back into the original form that you once were. Do you understand? So it's a transition stage that happens, understood, and then you're grown back into a form that we once looked like. So the humanoid form in that context would still be something of use when we were energy beings, as it's depicted. I mean, obviously, we take on any form that suits, but you can see in the physical and the pathway that gets created, we're broken down then to be reformed back, or in a similar form that we once were. Do you understand? I hope that answers your question. We do touch on it a bit later on in the class in a bit more detail. Maybe not at the time, not today, but yeah. When we get to the latter stages class, it explains that in some great detail. It's a good question, actually, but it explains that in greater detail. So energy beings in various forms, but one of those forms is that humanoid form. Any other questions?
No further questions.
Where are we at now?
Nabab Hackney Hess, did you answer the question about breaking down nine mind?
I did answer that question, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so primary creation was performed by 9 ether beings, simply Etherians, whose science is Nabab or Wu-Sabat. 9 ether represents birth, conception as in 9, and birth or the sum total of numbers. So we can see there, 9 is sort of completion in this regard, or the whole journey. And then sum total of numbers, obviously, if you go 1 plus 2 is 3, isn't it? Yeah. Plus 4 is 1 plus 2 is 3. Plus 4 is 7. Plus 5 is 12. Plus 6 is 18. Plus 7 is 25. Plus 8 is 33, is it? No, that's not right, is it? 1 plus 2 is 3, isn't it? Yeah, let's try and do the maths in mental maths. 1 plus 2 is 3. Yeah. If we plus 4, yeah, we get 7. Is that correct? Yeah, 7. Then if we plus 5, we get 12. Yeah. I'm trying to do something in my head on mental arithmetic and writing it down. 1 plus 2 is 3. Embarrassing myself now. 1 plus 2 is 3. Plus 4 is 7. Yeah. Plus 5 is 12. Plus 6 is 18, correct? Yeah.
18.
Yeah. Plus 7 is 25. Yeah. Plus 8 is 33. No, it's not right. Let me write it down. Because otherwise, I'll just continue to embarrass myself a bit further. So, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 9 should equal 45. Yeah. So let's let's put that on the screen and try and add it up, just so we can prove what we're saying here. Right, spare me 1 second. Let's get the screen up. Sorry for the pause, I'm just getting my whiteboard up. Right, okay. Okay, right, so Right, you can see the writing on the screen. Yeah. This is the thing of doing these things live, isn't it? Okay, here we go. So, we're going to go 1 plus 2. In fact, let me get rid of that. Okay, right. So 1 plus 2 is 3, correct? Yeah, plus 3 is going to be 6 there. Yeah, plus 4 is 10. Yeah, plus 5 is 15. Plus 6 is 21. Yeah, plus 7 is 28. Yeah, plus 8 is 36, correct? And then plus 9 is 45. Yeah, so that was a bit, as I was jumping around. Yeah, so you can see there, sum total of numbers is 45, and then 4 plus 5 equals 9. Yeah, so this is what we're, again, the correlation there that we're seeing there. Yeah, makes sense? Yeah, okay, cool. Right, let's just switch back then. Any questions?
All right, no questions.
Okay, cool. So the sum total of total numbers, 45. No higher numbers than 9. And Wu-Sabat on Wapo means to convey a message that results in sound right reasoning. So it's important, older definition here, which is quite important. Yeah, so it says, so there must be a conveyor and a listener of the message. The message is life and the conveyor is existence. So as we were talking about earlier, if you remember these early parts of these classes where we were going into the rules, these rules that exist within existence, understood, and talk the rules of existence, the rules of things, etc. Yeah, so you see that. So there must be so there's a message being conveyed or communicated. This is what we're talking about here. You understand? In terms of the things, you are the message. You understand? Or the message that we're carrying or progressing. You understand? As 9 ether beings, we're carrying the message of life, isn't it? Within existence. You understand? And so in the rules of things, it's being, becoming, became. You understand? These 3 stages. You understand? Of us expressing ourselves or the development of things going forward, and that process obviously to start again. But within obviously existence. Yeah. And so that conveyor is space, matter, and time. Understood? And here it talks about again that triple darkness, first set before light, before energy, before matter. You understand? So again, for us in that darkness, remember, or in that state of things, yeah, obviously when the appropriate season, you understand, or the correct time, which is mind in this context, obviously is applied, then the rules are applied to give what would be aimless things to some degree purpose. Understood? And so clearly that purpose creates motion from stillness, and obviously the growth journey, in the sense, starts from this particular point. Understand? So second set before time, before space, before place, and then third set before body, before soul, before spirit. So obviously these baby concepts as they were given us to us back then, some 20 odd years ago, being evolved upon or grown upon within the actual Facts and Master Secret series, understood. But you understand, you were given this scientific element, say well over 20 years ago, to prepare your mind for more advanced concepts, which we are obviously going through as part of this from the proof. Yeah, so here, interesting enough, on Earth, I'm going through loads of detail, but it's showing 9 ether as the gases as they appear on Earth. Understood? In that combination, or what it represents is physically, from these gases on the periodic table in this regard. So, as I say, this is a definition of 9 ether in this context. Understood? And so in other contexts, excuse me, it would have a different meaning because the environment's different. Understood? So this is just something to master or pick up on. The other thing I'd probably touch upon in this area is, we've touched upon this, I've given this to you before, but the definition of creation in Wu-Sabat and destruction. You understand? So here you see in the tablets, creation from the word creare, to bring forth, create, produce, to cause. Yeah, means growth into form or system. You understand? Destruction means change in form or composition. So this is showing you here that, yeah, so the original, when we looked at those 9 minds into 9 excuse me, people, 9 dwelling places, or 9 species into 9 dwelling places, that's growth into form or system, isn't it? You understand? Yeah, because it's taking the original sources or forces and growing them into a system. But then now we've got other races that came along to exist in those same places or spaces, but they don't have the same formula, the same gaseous formula or potency as the original. Do you understand? So that's where you get in destruction now, because you're getting change in form or composition or the potency. Do you understand? So, like, for example, the Dravidian, or the 6, which is a manifestation of 6 ether, is obviously a black person, but with fur, because there's less potency in the formula. The more potency in the formula, it causes the fur to turn in the sand or curl into air. Understood? You understand? Which again, similar to the flocculi of the sun. You understand? So again, more correlation stuff that we're talking about there. So again, I think it's sort of old school stuff, but it's just a show how, or way back, basically this base understanding of sort of 9 and 6 ether principles, how it relates to universal forces, how it obviously then translates and relates into the space and place that we occupy, and how it relates obviously into people. You understand? So we were always, or have been always, highly scientific, you understand, as a people, but obviously religion has dampened down, not necessarily one's curiosity, but the fact of how we need to get into a lot more detail of, in order for things to be understood, you understand, correctly in that regard. You understand? To say this was written, a while ago and needs updating in line with what we know now, but it helped us, to say, to bridge the bridge the gap between religion and reality. You understand? So if you're interested in that, check out Holy Tablets chapter 1. Now, just to finish off these couple of verses then. So excuse me. So we were just going through that to see what happened pre, yeah. We were expressing ourselves as flesh and blood creatures, yeah. So 355. So in Hakat Kal Hakat, actual facts, at the beginning of this Wahul Makwan universe at its birth, Mawat death did not exist. Therefore, Mawat death was surely no threat to life anywhere in this universe. 356. The specific creative powers that I, Baba Yaanuwn, have are found in the Shamash sun, the Yarach moon, and the Matha, the earth, and this whole solar system, and Wahul Makwan, universe, and the Negroid Mokwanu beings of this universe. The original persons on this Makab Matar planet became obviously flesh, it's going to say blood, flesh and blood beings. And as you see, as I mentioned earlier, the word Mokwanu, beings, you understand, and you see here the word for universe, Makwan or Wahu Makwan, yeah, one being, yeah, really, because Kawan. So the MA denotes place. I'm seriously there, Mata, earth, yeah, so it denotes place. Whereas the Mu, one who is of, denotes, in the sense, human being or person. Understood? But it's the same word. You know, it's in the Sabat, it's the same word. Understood? Showing that correlation. So you are a universe, in this regard, and the universe, is you in that regard. Understood? So there, the language in a sense, the next level of understanding, when we read it and get into that detail. So we've gone through 9 dwellers and see understanding of that. We went through that. I'll just finish on this page because we ran a bit over. But it says, so after the 9 distinct features within our race, so we talked about that 9. So within the doctrine, they're known as physical ethers. Yeah, so the 9 distinct species. Other races have physical ethers. It just denotes the number of species within a race. Yeah, so that's the difference between physical ether and ether in that regard. 364. And after the planet was healed, many died off. Yet the mixing resulted in today's 9 distinct features of our race. That can be said of the other 2 Salalu races. So there's 3 races left, basically, out of the original 24. So just to give some context, yeah. It says, that being said, the other 2, so the 3 root races are Mongoloid, Negroid, and Caucasoid. Yeah, so 3 root races left on the planet, and each of them, as it's expressed in here, has physical ethers, yeah, of 3 for the Mongoloid, 6 obviously for the Caucasoid within their species. Yeah. 365. As compared to today, to the 3 major races and numerous subdivision races of human beings called planetary nations on Plan ET and the extraterrestrials plan. So really, if we were paying attention, we should have upgraded the word race and replaced it with the term planetary nation. Do you understand? So remove from race. So I'm a race, social construct. You know what I mean? On all these type of things you hear people saying. But planetary nation is an up-to-date way of expressing race here today. Any questions? No.
No questions. No questions.
Okay. So it says the 9 subdivisions of races constituted this universe. Yeah. So us effectively. Yeah. And those who created us. So the 9 subdivision races of deities constituted this universe. Pa Pa'ut, the all race or universe nation on Makab Mata, planet Earth, and by extension of all or Pa Pa'ut, the all, this Wahu Makwan universe and all of the Kaleh Makwanat omniverse, know yourself. So here, obviously, you have the all within all. You understand? And I think we gave us an example of that previously. Like, so Pa'ut obviously is the all expanding. We described as existence, but you can have the all, which has those same characteristics. You understand? But it has a definite article inside of it because effectively it can be defined. You understand? So it has space in and around it, can be defined. It's not part of the whole. So not part of the whole insofar as it can be separated, understand, or made distinct. Understand? So effectively, when you were in your mother's womb, you thought that was Pa'ut, all. Understood? Yeah, because in the context, that was existence to us. Yeah, so we were merged in the blackness. Yeah, there was no distinction. That was what we knew as existence. But obviously, when you were born, now you see, well, your mother is not all. You understand? Your mother is the all. You understand? So she had a version of existence within her womb that was able to facilitate your growth. So therefore, you say the all, or you look back at your mother and say the all. Therefore, I am. You understand? Now both of you are the all within all, because you're within the universe. So the universe in the context of The omniverse would be the all within all. You understand? So because it's again representing existence in that context. All this to say is that because obviously as those original 9 species making the black race, it gave birth to all other races. Do you understand? So therefore we are the all race, because the 9 subdivision, or the 9 mind, 9 races which make up the whole, all races, all sub races come from us as the root race, understand, or the main root race for this planet or even the universe. So that's why they refer to us, or we should refer to, as the all race, because all come from us. We are the 9, others represent 6, 3, so on, and there's different subdivisions off of that. So, or the universe nation. So, as I say, the universe in this context is creating beings in its image in order to express, to allow the mind to use it as a mechanism to express itself in obviously the universal level, and then to represent that again, obviously at the people, you understand, level or layer, for lack of a better word. Yeah. So it says know yourself. So again, this is pointing us to, if you want to confirm, obviously, the universe, because you can only see it from a certain perspective, can't we? So we have to understand that studying oneself is the way to really understand the universe. Studying ourselves is a way to understand the omniverse. Understand? And as we step through, we get further confirmations that being the right approach. So because you are a universe, studying you gives you greater understanding of the things that appear obviously much larger than us, tremendous, in size, these entities, and how powerful they are, but to obviously work on that correlation. We're not subservient, we're in correlation. You understand? And we are them, they are us. You understand? And so we have to sort of understand that, because human beings lowering themselves to be pitied, like they're this being that can do nothing right in the religious context, it causes us to ignore not only our divine capabilities, but our divine responsibilities. You understand? So if you continue lowering yourself, then, well, I can't do nothing, only God can do it for me, blah, 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 blah. Well, you understand? If there was no concept of a God or no Allah, none of these things, well, who would be responsible for solving the problems on the planet? You understand? You would be. So this is the mindset that we have to shift, it's not just coating you in glory to massage one's ego. It's a case of us ascending to a level where we can restore, I suppose, order on the planet, you understand, and make sure things are back in line with natural nature. Otherwise, this planet that sustained life for an immeasurable amount of time, understood, could be destroyed. Not every planet, as not every sun is life-giving, provides life-giving properties, for humanoid life in that regard. So definitely very precious in that way. Okay, I think I'll stop there. Any questions before we close out for today?
Right, just checking. There are no questions and there's no hands up. So that's it.
Okay, so this is the last class for the year. The next class is going to be on, so date for your diaries. So the next class is going to be on the 7th of January. Yeah, 7th of January, and then one after that, 21st. So, so continue on this subject into more detail. So there's some interesting things coming along, so you don't want to miss it. But if you do, then check out the YouTube channel. The parts will be on there. So any other questions before we close out?
Yeah, I've got a question. Sorry, I got a quick question. It's not on the topic,
Go ahead.
but what's the ancient African word for Africa before they named it Africa?
That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. And the reason why I say it's an interesting question, because the issue is that when you think about the original people who have evoluted onto the land or evolved onto land or were thrown onto the land and evolved in South Africa, why would it have a name?
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? Because to us, if you're talking about the land that you're standing on, it's the earth, isn't it? Yeah. Or if the waters that we swam in, it's all the sea, because all the waters are connected on the planet, as all the earth is connected on the planet. Do you see what I'm saying? So it when we say original name, well, its original name is it didn't have a name. You understand? Other than it being referred to as the earth, like the planet is referred to as the earth, but it's really water. Do you understand? It's mainly water, primarily a water planet. You understand? So it's an interesting question, yeah, because it's only relevant when others come along after those originals, and now you have to have distinctions in place. So you have to create borders. You understand? To separate my land from your land. Whereas when we was all one, there was no need for that distinction or separation, because we're all on the same. It's all the earth to us in that context. Do you understand? So some of the names being given, they relate to what the thing is. It's not so much that's being given. You understand a name? So if somebody says, so in the news cycle information, we would refer to Africa as a Faf Reye Ka'a. You understand? So a Faf from a Ka'a, a Faf from the sun's spirit. So from the spirit or the personality of the sun. Do you understand? And so it's had various names at certain points. Names. So when it's the original, I think the thinking around that is to say, well, you see what I'm saying? If you call it Tamaray, or you call it, these are attributes of the land. They're not really saying, no, this is, well, that's the name of it. So Bata, for example, is dealing with the earth. Reye, you understand? Excuse me, Ta is earth, Ma'at is water, and Reye for the sun. It's three principles needed to sustain life. You understand? So we can get caught up. I'm not saying you caught up, but people getting caught up when it was named this before it was a Kibu land, before it was named Africa, because of a Roman general, which is Africanus. Name it for that, and it means something different in a different language. The point they're saying is that those first people, when we evolved onto the land, what was the purpose of it having a name? Like the same way, it's like so the same thing. Like we say, oh, those are the Sands people. We're saying that now because of our proximity to it. But is that what they really called themselves in the beginning? You only have to separate yourself when other people come along. Do you understand? So in reality, yes, the planet, you understand, it would have had a name, but the individual sections, the name has changed over time. You understand? Where we've had to make distinctions with other people who occupied, certain parts of the planet, and then over time we've had to create borders to keep certain people out. You know what I mean? And obviously our territories safe. So. We could say Tamaray. You understand? We could use terminologies like that, but the point I'm making is it didn't have a name. Because what was its purpose? It's just we're just calling it. We're just referring to it as Earth, as the land that we're walking on. Do you understand? As opposed to somebody saying, "Well, this is Britain, and the borders of such are blah 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 blah." You see what I'm saying? Because that's the illusion. All of the land is connected on the planet, as well as all of the waters are connected. The only distinction with the water is versus seawater versus fresh water. You understand? And the waters of the planet, I think the seawater makes about 85% of the water of the planet. Then you've got freshwater change. So in this regard, then we would make those distinctions, because you've got a difference there, which is fairly obvious. Do you understand? So not to avoid your question, but when we look, it's more about the thinking. Like someone will say, okay, that is called the River Nile. You understand? And so yes, it's got a name, but to us, it's not the Nile River; it's the Nine River. You see,
Okay.
so more so, a little. Oh well, I'm saying a jewel. Yeah, maybe something for us to explore in a future class. But the names of things are going to be related. They're split. We name things this way. Things are going to be. There's a direct correlation between the universe and the parts of the human body. So when we're naming things or when we're categorizing things, it's going to be in those instances. Person, do you understand? Yeah, the place, planet, and then understand wider than that universe. So that's how we're going to. That's how we would categorize things for them things to have certain names and in certain orders. Understood? Yeah. The real names of things were given, yeah, as some passwords and things of that nature, yeah, to show that people really knew what they were talking about. Understood? So that understanding I'm giving you is more important than the name. You understand? Of somebody saying, well, it was called this. They get into arguments with people. It was called this. By who? And for what reason? Do you understand? So you see what I'm saying? Because that's the trick they want to play, is because they want to try and categorize history and say, well, these people were around before these people, you understand? Or these people were living in this particular location and they're not the same as those people. So they play this game a lot with ancient Egypt and try to say, well, there were that's Black Egypt and this is some other version of Egypt. Do you understand? To try and tie themselves into the vine. You understand? Or some people say, oh, okay, so the classification of things is so that people can have authority over it. You understand? But in essence, when you deal with us in a supreme state, there is no name. Who named it? You understand? And what would be the purpose of naming yourself when no one else is around? So for millions of years we've existed. There may be planetary differences, so you might name the planet a certain thing or location. But for us, if we're the only people, why would we name the land a certain name other than to describe what it is? Does that make sense? Yeah. So or how we used it or the attributes of it. So even when you look at the term here, you're saying so this is planet Earth, Makab, Mathar, isn't it? So this is the plural for planet. This is the word for Earth, isn't it? Ma denotes place, and Tahar is Earth. So even though we're giving it a name, we're taking it back to the essence of that's what it is. It's not giving it something that it's not. Do you understand? So it's describing its attribute. So this is what it does. This is its purpose. This is what it serves. That's what the name, or how we use names, as we have names ourselves, isn't it? They denote attributes for characteristics that we're supposed to, in the case of Sabian names, that we should live up to. So therefore, once you master it, you're given other attributes on top of it for you to master to reflect your growth and your development. You understand? So yeah. You could say something, oh, we called it Tamaray, or we called it this, or we called it that. Yeah, these are all certain points in time, and it may have been necessary to distinguish ourselves from others who were on the planet to make that difference. You understand? Like Europe, for example, in etymology, the word "eu" or "eu" it means God or deity, and rope was a nickname for the immigration system that we had that kept Europeans out of Africa, for example. You understand? So, you see what I'm saying? So you said like God's rope. That's what it's saying. God's rope. So rope is describing our immigration system. See, so things have names for certain reasons. Are they universal, like absolute things for it depends who's speaking. You understand? So
Okay.
In that sense. So the new cycled or recycled name, which obviously Africa was, is Afaf Reye Ka'a, because it's now describing the attribute of the people now to say we're from the personality or from the spirit of the sun, yeah, as its children or as its descendants. So that's the power of, I think the master was saying he was his qualities or the abilities were that of the sun, the moon. Yeah, I think we was just reading about previously in one of the previous verses. So that's that ability, is transforming things, yeah, those creative powers, yeah, that are found in the sun. You understand? Meaning that you're able to reform or recycle that things which are defective, or for lack of a better word, you turn that which is bad and you turn it into something that's good or useful, and then makes it productive again. So we took a name that was negative, named after a Roman general, Africanus, from the word Farrakha, which means to separate. And then talking about the separating the land masses, but also symbolically separating the people. And now I've repurposed it for now in a new cycle of information. So that's our power in the sense. So Tamaray, if for argument's sake, for people, but as I say, who named it?
I always thought Tamaray was just located for Egypt, another ancient word for Egypt. That's what I thought Tamaray was for.
No,
But
it represents the whole of the land.
oh,
Because if you look at its meaning, it encompasses the three principles needed for life. You understand? So, and it even goes further, because Tamaray, remember, it's where they get the words Mary from, Tamira. You understand? All these different derivatives are all from Tamaray, but it also ties back into the deity, the female deity Merit. You understand? Yeah. Or Meritat, which basically she is the Coronomy deity. You understand? And what Coronomy is, I think we touched upon this previously, but it's like, when you see somebody conducting an orchestra, yeah, they effectively are the gesture of the hands. You understand? That is known as Coronomy. So even the name ties into how divine coordination works in bringing things into line to make things manifest, particularly bringing absolute matter and absolute vacuum into sequence. Magical things happen. Do you understand? So again, there's a lot more to that than I suppose is being expressed. So listen, Hatat Ba'ata is what was one of the names for what they would call Lower Egypt. And then Hatat Ka'a Ptah is one of the names for Lower Egypt. One means house of the spirit of the soul. One means house of the soul, you understand? And one means house of the spirit. So as I was giving that jewel a little bit earlier, it's named after the sequencing of the human body, which is a universe. That's how we structure things. So body, it's in person, place, planet, you understand? And then we'll see upwards of a universe. So there'll be a correlation for each part of the body relating to each of the things that we're talking about, you understand? And that's how we name things, or that's one of the secrets of how we name things, you understand? In that complete correlation. So that's why we say, excuse me, you see that the well, we'll leave that for another time. We'll leave that for another time. But hold that for now. But that's an understanding. That's an understanding how we name things and why we name them in that particular way. Do you understand?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
No problem. Yeah, appreciate the question. Any other questions before we close?
No question.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right. Okay then. So whatever people are doing over the what they call the festive season. There are many Children's Day celebrations taking place. So look after yours and other children's, and if you're involved in additional stuff, charitable works, and that, all the best with that. And obviously, we do have a kind of version of a New Year, although our New Year's June 26th. But obviously, the rising of Orion was also around this time, which led to the flooding of the Nile. So this still is a positive renewal time for us as well. All the sort of madness going on in the world. So whatever you're choosing to do, spend time with your family, so on and so forth. Enjoy, and we will see you back, say, in the first Sunday in January to continue this very interesting and important subject. Shout out to Dr. Malachi KZ York for the sacrifice and bringing this, and we will see you soon. Take care all. Much love.